All right, I have now just written an absolute work of genius, maybe the best podcast bit ever conceived, if I do say so myself, to myself, as I am alone in this room right now. Yeah, so how am I going to top this? I've got a few ideas. I think I've got a few ideas at least. Okay, let's just sit down at this old computee. That's what I call the computer. Again, I'm telling myself, alone in this room. Gonna sit down here at the computer, at the computee, which is what I call it, ever since right now. And I'm just gonna, okay. In the beginning, there was fuck. For God's sake, let us sit on the ground and tell sad stories of the deaths of kings. One being the King of Kings, who died one sad, dark afternoon. Friday afternoon, who died, I'll get back to it later. Another being George III, he of the blue urine, who the American Revolution was against. Ooh, I'll get back to that later. Okay, and then he died at a different time. Now, you see, it's not just about the content, presentation, right? It has to have, you gotta get a gimmick. I don't know. So the first one-man show with a hostile audience. Ha ha ha, very funny. Second show, it was Mr. Burns. It was Mr. Burns, the play, but as a little bit, and then I had to cut that down because I spent way too much time on the conversion thing, but everyone liked the conversion thing, so that's fine. So no, that's a stupid idea. I'm not going to do an adaptation riff where I'm going through my writer's block and trying to figure out how I'm going to write the new bit for the third. That's really fucking dumb. The architects of the Declaration and the Constitution of the United States, they were building for themselves a little clockwork world. A world where fate could be wrested from fate's own hands. Deism, right? So in their conception, well, not all of their conceptions, but like the people at this time during the Enlightenment who believed that the universe is a little clockwork world built up by God and then left to its own devices. It's clockwork in more than one way, right? It's a world of machinery. It's the arising of liberal industrialization, right? Industrialization. And the great plumes of black smoke filling the air, everyone breathing in coal and wood and human flesh as it is sacrificed upon the altar of continual manufacturing. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So it's like it's a parallel with all of American history. I don't have to do some kind of Charlie Kaufman bit because all I have to do is parallel it with the actual cultural history of the I did that with the first piece. Fuck. Okay, though, what if I just play Baldur's Gate? Okay, Baldur's Gate really frustrates me. I'm too stupid for this game. What if I just walk outside and just, keep walking? Just keep going west and just, walk into the Hudson River and then just disappear into the water forever. I wouldn't have to record the episode anymore. I wouldn't have to edit anything ever again. I would just be part of the water. I'd turn into some kind of manta ray or whatever lives here. I bet I could do that. Okay. No. Okay, it turns out I cannot breathe water. I cannot turn into a manta ray. Okay, but what if I wrote the piece as if I was a manta ray? Maybe this is from the perspective, okay, of aquatic life, observing people who are watching or making adventures in Odyssey or the worst of all possible worlds. What if this is the fish eye view of a world in decline, right? The ocean is getting more acidic. It's getting hotter. It's destroying food sources. I should try writing literally any of these words down. My keyboard is right there, and I'm gonna go make dinner. Come on, there we go. So, what then? If content dictates form, right? If I find all of the right pieces, I will be able to figure out what it is that this needs to become. So James Dobson arises. When is James Dobson born? Wait, I have to look that up. Okay, James Dobson is born in 1936. What happened in 1936? Did anything happen in 1936? No, this is useless. This is useless to me. And so Dobson begins to build his kingdom on Earth. And the temperature begins to rise. The smoke is now saturating the atmosphere. And what is the response? What is the behavior of people like Dobson? Well, they say we have to reorder it back to the way that it was 10, 20 years ago. To say that everything that is headed our way is in fact God's will. God's bringing of his kingdom, of the eschaton, onto Earth.
Hello?
Hey, AJ, could you...
What the fuck? I told you never to call this number.
Whoa, sorry, man,
I'm trying to pound some serious sliz out here. You think I can cultivate strange for some dipshit hanging out in my ear?
Well, okay, I get it. Look,
Okay, well, whatever. You're already draining whatever precious hours of life I have left on this planet. What do you want?
Well, okay. I'm working on the opening for this week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I just... Well, what do you do when you feel like you just can't sit down and write?
Oh, that's easy. I don't.
Don't what?
I just don't.
Like, you don't write? Or, you mean, do you have a coping mechanism and you just push through it?
No, I mean, I don't ever feel that way. I never feel like I can't write.
Really?
Yeah, no one does. Except you. You're just different, I guess. Somehow worse than everyone else.
Oh.
Don't worry, I'm sure it just comes from you being a bad writer.
Well, that's
You know
not...
what they say about bad writers?
They're good actors?
No. Bad writers are worse people.
So that's why I came to you.
Well, yeah, that's unsurprising. AJ is very cruel when he's sober. Could you give me that steel wool? Right behind you?
Oh, yeah, here you go.
Thank you. So you're saying the issue is...
I don't know how to top myself.
Almost no one does. That's why Grindr exists.
I just don't know how to follow up on the conversion bit. I have the content, but I don't know the presentation.
Okay. Well, is the content good enough to stand up on its own?
Not really. Why do you have so much turpentine?
You'll see in a minute. I'm gonna grab the thermometer. You need to keep the temperature consistent here. Get your hand on the valve.
I'm at that point in the process where I'm like, is it even worth it?
Oh, it will be, once I get the formula right. I thought the last batch was a little too harsh.
No, I meant the opening. Like, does anybody care?
Oh, they definitely care. Last month's comment section went wild. That one-man show had a really good engagement curve, too. Close the valve a little.
Where's the Sudafed?
We're gonna wait a couple more minutes here.
I don't know, man. I'm hitting a wall, and it's already Friday.
Just quit.
What?
Do you need to get this done? Like, what if we just start the episode? We have Scott. It's fine.
But what if I...
It just doesn't matter, Brian. None of it matters. Actually, with income we're pulling in doing this, we could just quit the whole podcast. Who needs it?
Yeah, but what about artistic expression? Having an outlet to do something we love?
We? I never loved the podcast, and it makes you annoying. We should just quit. Okay, get the pseudo.
Of course, part of the project, part of Dobson's whole project is continued deregulation, and not just the heat rising in the air, not just the smoke filling up the atmosphere, but we also have chemicals in the water and in the soil and in the land, and this gets represented in the clockwork world of Odyssey. This gets represented by Edgebiter Chemical Company, this very, very bad thing that can nonetheless be simply thought out of existence, and eventually it just becomes a footnote, an inconvenience to get in the way of the good guys, the Christ worshippers, a distraction from the real issues of gay sex and pornographer. Maybe I become a character in Odyssey. Maybe that's what the angle on this is, right? So maybe I write myself not into the regular show, but into the weird bizarro version of the show where Butch has like a Brooklyn accent, Lawrence Hodges is just Josh talking, right? So it's like I'm going into AJ's creation and I am telling them all the truth of everything that's happening. This is a terrible idea. I'm going to walk into the river again. Why do I keep walking into the river? I can't breathe that stuff. So then what does Dobson do? He uses that radio. He realizes, what if I do more than just talk in a really boring way with my extremely fucking boring voice? What if I create a little clockwork world? What if our organization, our organization, which is already spread thin like butter across so many different ideas and avenues, what if that, here we go, what if that is my new revolution? Just as Christ intended to bring heaven to earth, and all of his followers waited until their dying days, they all awaited these things that did not come. And so others began to build their kingdoms, their holy seas, their revolutionary governments. And Dobson has to realize it is, at the end of the day, just one big cuckoo clock. We will assemble our little clockwork, our little bit of machinery, our little bit of electronic black smoke, create this perfect world inside of it. And if we let it go on for long enough, it becomes reality. It becomes the truth. It becomes a little dollhouse. It can't be a clockwork and a dollhouse. Can it? What if I tried? And you can jump inside of the world. And that is the basis of my opening. It won't just be a podcast. It won't just be audio opening. I will create a little world, a little dollhouse, a little clockwork machine, an immersive experience. I will live inside of this machine, a performance. I will live inside of a new Odyssey, a new eschaton. This will be the opening. This will close darkness before dawn. This will cement our status as gods among men. That's exactly what it's going to be. I'm going to sit down now. I know exactly what I want to say. Screw you, AJ. Fuck you, Josh. And all of your discouragements. Because I found it. I've found what I am going to say. I've started. All I need tools. I need ratchets. I need wrenches. I need screwdrivers. I need something that maybe can combine some of those pieces all into one. And I will begin building my little clockwork world, and the entire universe will look upon me and gasp and despair and walk into the sea.
Good evening, Odyssey. You're listening to Grieve and Steve and Sully's Midnight Radio, and you've officially entered the No-Bull Zone. Joining me here in the ring is a very special guest. He appeared in our town several weeks ago, screaming something about disrupting, what was it again?
That would be innovation, Stephen.
Disrupting innovation. Please welcome to our wonderful radio program, Brian Alflord. Good morning and evening, Brian. It is 3 a.m. It is both at the same time.
Just like me. Just like me. Just like me, Stephen.
Brian, it says here that you are a genius. Is it a burden to be a genius?
Yeah, well, it says that because you sincerely believe that, Stephen.
Yeah, that's strange. I suddenly do.
Yeah, so why don't you ask that question again?
Brian Alflord, why are you such a genius? Is it a burden?
That's such a good question. I'm a genius because it's a burden.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the bit is that you have made your way into not Odyssey.
No,
But my lore version of Odyssey.
that's correct.
And you're talking with a character that I made up
Yes.
about what a genius you are.
Grieve and Stephen, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
In fact, even something of a god, if you pay attention, I'll say that later.
Yeah. So, okay. So we exist within the alternate lore of Odyssey as ourselves?
You and Josh?
Yeah. All three of us.
No, I do because I transcended it. You see, it's a metaphor for the act of writing,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you know what this is. You know what it feels like.
No,
to
no,
write,
I know what this is. The thing is that the interstitials are sort of their own little world, and I just feel like if we enter them, we're gonna really jump the shark in a big way.
I see what you're worried about.
Yeah, like it's gonna break the logic of the universe.
Okay, can I just say something here?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, you are thin-skinned.
Oh,
and
yeah, these
you
boys are funny. They're
very
funny
insecure about
guys.
your own writing.
Butch, what the heck are you doing in here?
Oh, I'm just listening to my stories.
Your stories?
Yeah, it's called a podcast, the worst of all possible worlds.
What the heck is a podcast?
I don't know. All I know is that these guys are so funny. They're doing self-depreciating jokes on each other about how they don't like making the podcast, whatever it is.
Well, that kind of sounds a little dark.
It's kind of dark, but they even have this joke that they've been doing. I think it's a joke where they go on the radio show that we have here in Odyssey.
What, Grieving Stephen Sully's Midnight Rodeo?
What else would it be? That's the only show on the radio I know.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand. So these are real people, or are they like
No,
fictional
none of
versions?
this is real. They're all fake names, fake addresses. One of them, they record it all on a boat.
So Josh,
Oh,
what'd you think about the opening?
Why are you doing this to me?
Doing what?
This is. I thought it would be so nice. We would make a nice podcast together. And it would just be, we would just talk about themes and ideas.
Is this not nice, Josh? Am I
media.
somehow hurting your feelings by just writing a really good
I
opening?
just thought we would like analyze media every once in a while from like a fucking, leftist perspective or whatever. And we would get people to. This is so fucking inaccessible.
I'm sorry, Josh. Are you opposed to actually existing communism on podcasts? Because this is what it looks like.
Is this what it looks like?
This is what it looks like. This is about supporting art and structure. I mean, Scott gets it, right, Scott?
Yeah, no, all of this made perfect sense to me, and I applaud it.
Of course.
You see, Josh, I think you just need to really start practicing praxis a little bit more, and I think maybe this will be a little clearer to you.
Or at least start practicing practice.
Yeah, Lenin spoke of all of this.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the podcast where we ask the question, can a single episode collapse under its own weight? And today we're gonna try it out. I'm the worst of all possible Bryans.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. And listeners, I promise you, I'm not leaning into the bit right now. I have no idea how this episode is going to go. Brian and AJ are the worst people in the world, and they've put together some of the most inscrutable bullshit imaginable.
The Dutch Knight will rise, baby!
And so I just want to get this out of the way right now before we fully introduce our guest, before we do anything.
Yeah.
This is going to be pretty different from even previous episodes of Whit's Endless Summer, let alone the worst of all possible worlds. So strap the fuck in. I don't know what's going to happen. And
Just look down there at that runtime.
I'm
'cause,
frankly afraid about what is going to happen next. But, we figured we are closing out the Darkness Before Dawn saga, which is, of course, the epic 12-parter of Adventures in Odyssey, the ongoing Christian radio drama for children produced by Focus on the Family. And we figured there would be nobody better to join us than somebody who is now making his fourth appearance on our podcast. That's right, the fourth. You may have previously heard him on episode 11, where we talked about castles and cauldrons. You may have heard him on episode 52, where we talked about This Present Darkness. Or episode 96, where we talked about Castlevania Symphony of the Night. He is the esteemed creator of Night in the Woods. Please welcome to the show once again, Scott Benson.
Hi, hello. I feel very welcomed. I was trying to find the through line thematically between all of my appearance, and I think it's like some dark presence being summoned somewhere.
That feels right.
Started with Shalman, and here we are with Regis Blackguard.
Shalman, and then I forget all the names of the demons in This Present Darkness.
Well, there was Lost.
Shalman.
There was
but one of them had a Rufio. What the fuck was his name? It was one of the demons was like an actual capitalized named.
It was
person.
Dante Bosco reprising his role as Rufio.
Yeah. There was also just stuff like dirty dealing.
Like
that was another.
having a bad attitude, I think was one of them.
Having a crummy attitude.
But yes, Scott, what have you been up to lately?
Not much. I'm on an accidental vacation right now.
Okay.
I had some health issues that sort of like, sidelined me from a bunch of stuff. And actually, the last time I was on this podcast was, and I kind of mentioned it during the podcast, but I had just had to change a bunch of medical stuff, right?
Right.
And so I was on ADHD meds like Adderall and Vyvanse for like a few years, and like that week, literally like 3 days before that podcast, I was off of them completely cold turkey for health reasons. And so I, for months afterwards, was like, oh God, I was probably completely incoherent. That was like probably the worst thing I've ever done, because I didn't remember it right after at all. Like that entire thing, I'm in some sort of weird coming down from various prescription amphetamines thing going. And so I finally forced myself to listen to it, because I was like, well, my other
like
times
recently
on the podcast, we're pretty okay. So I'm like, I got to face the music. I need to go back and listen to this worst performance I've ever done. And it was the same.
It was fine, yeah.
It was so good.
It's a little bit more, I'm saying a lot more crutch words. I'm like, and stuff. There's a bit of that more, but it's the goddamn same. And so I don't know if that means that like my floor is way higher or my ceiling is way lower.
As I recall, during that period, you'd been like listening to a bunch of our show while sick, and you had like John Avery Whitaker appear to you in a dream or something like that.
Yeah, he gave me a New Testament of Christ.
Yeah. Cool.
Wait,
in Dracula's castle, though, right? Like I remember there being it was the combination.
I was thinking that like, with that through line of something, an evil outside presence being summoned into like a small town, it kind of then flips Symphony of the Night if you start thinking of, well, no, this was just a small town.
Try that in a small town.
Yes, try to materialize your ancient demonic castle of evil in a
Absolutely.
small town.
Upside down, wit's end, things of that nature. Well, look, we are going to be returning to everyone's favorite small town today, Odyssey, USA, as we talk about these final 4 episodes. And the first one of our batch here is episode 331, Checkmate.
Oh. Checkmate.
Oh my God.
Yes.
This was written by Paul McCusker and Phil Lawler.
Together.
And that's right.
As a team.
Wow.
Rare collaboration episode.
They touched tips.
That's true, actually. They did.
docked.
Dewy kisses.
They're uncircumcised.
Yeah, this is like they've spoken of this on the Behind the Scenes podcast.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How much dick-to-dick contact there was.
The episode aired on September 16 of 1995, and this episode begins with Chris is fucking excited.
And now, Adventures in Odyssey.
That's the only serious music in this episode. Everything else is carnival music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you saying there's no serious carnival music, Brian? How dare you?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Calliopes, Brian?
A little bit of context here. Philip Glossman,
More like Grossman.
thank you, has been executing on Regis Blackguard's grand plan, right?
Has
Regis
been
is
executed.
That's right. And
Firing squad.
here's the thing, though. Even though he's been executing on the plan, Blackguard is pissed because Whit's End is not yet completely closed down. That's what needs to happen in order for his grand plan to be
there's a
fully
very
fulfilled.
long exposition scene. The whole first scene is just like, here's everything that has happened in the last 8 episodes.
Yep. And so after that, we get our update on the status of the Israelites, which again is our gang of children, the good gang. And under Jason Whitaker, who has reestablished the Israelites, their tactical plans are shifting.
Until now, we've been on the defensive, waiting for them to strike and then cleaning up after them. We've been playing it safe. It's time for something new.
Like what?
Well, now we need to go on the offensive. We're going to do things to show them that we're not safe or predictable. And that'll make them nervous before they can do anything.
Boy.
Along the way, maybe we can get some proof that'll help place the blame where it belongs.
So, what are we gonna do?
Sam, you know where the Bones hideout is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think it's time you and I paid it a visit. Tonight.
Cool. Wait a minute. What if the bones are there?
Aha, they won't be. You see, one of the things Butch told us was that the Bones have joined, of all things, a bowling league.
Bowling? The Bones of Wrath are bowlers?
Yeah, apparently it was Jellyfish's
Bowls
idea.
of Wrath.
He thought it'd make them look
That's
wholesome
right,
or
AJ.
something. Lucy, you need to go to the bowling alley and keep an eye on the Bones. The last thing we want is for them to leave early and catch Sam and Billy at their hideout.
That could be painful.
Right. Now, here's my cellular phone number. I can contact Billy on his pager.
Yes!
So
Billy has a
sure
pager?
can.
Yeah,
Love
they all
that.
have pagers down at the gas station that Billy works at.
This is some classic Phil Lawler exposition here. Just so plotting, so
God.
unnecessarily detailed.
By the way, Butch, Gone Forever from the series. This is a series wrap on Butch. I think we might get a few updates on him this episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds, but he does not appear in Adventures in Odyssey ever again.
So he is firmly through the no door, ripped to a real one. We love you, Butch.
I think it's so funny that underneath any Phil Lawler exposition scene, you could insert a tuba going bum ba da ba da bum ba da ba da bum, and it would actually make the scene make a lot more sense. It is so long. There is so much exposition that needs to be said here that could just be like, hey, I saw the Bones of Wrath at the bowling alley. Go infiltrate them.
Yeah.
Done. We're out of the
One
scene.
line.
It would have vastly improved it. Because, like, one, I like how, like, Jason's like, I'm a fucking agent of chaos. I'm an operator. You know, we're going to go and fuck their shit up with my intelligence squad of children. But
I'm the Fagin of spies.
We'll talk about this later.
Many
but like
scarves.
This entire subplot with the Israelites, you could excise it entirely from.
It just doesn't need to happen.
It doesn't need to happen. Nothing. It's just they're like running around. It's like actually this reminds me of something. Do you remember like that show Torchwood? It was like a Doctor Who spinoff back in like the aughts. And this just reminded me of it because there was a special like a limited series they did and called like I think Children of Earth or something. Aliens were coming down and literally smoking children to get high. I'm not joking.
Hell yeah.
Right. High on life, yes.
Near the end, there's some sort of actual conflict going on involving our protagonist and antagonist. And then, but they didn't have anything to do with the other characters. And so they're just kind of running around doing shit because they had to do something with
Flipping
them.
switches.
And like,
yeah.
I think it's honestly in these episodes, they're like, oh, this is a great plot. There's nothing for kids to do in any of this shit because we have decided to blow up Odyssey's conflict to a global scale suddenly.
Yeah, the last 4 episodes just didn't have kids, and they're like, oh, fuck, we need to bring the kids back.
This is just like
That's
the
why they were
kids'
good.
table activity that they've given them.
But this is something that I remember too about listening to these as a kid. Was that anytime you get to the kiddie shit, it's like, get this the fuck out of here. I want to know what's happening with Regis.
I want to know what the grown-ups are up to.
Yeah.
But how could you relate to the show if they didn't have a child constantly being like, I'm going to clean your room for you? Or
Josh and I
else.
had difficulty relating to other children in our childhood.
That's a good point, Brian.
This might be a shock to you, AJ.
No, I've been blown away.
Eugene, at this point, has fully figured out how to use the imagination station for historical research. You'll remember, of course, that his test case for that was the experience that resulted in him getting saved. But the side effect of that is that he now knows how to run a query in the imagination station and experience things that help him accomplish a goal. And in this case, the goal is that he wants to get more information about the tunnel and the minerals below the tunnel.
Here. Okay.
Eugene.
Line these all up and hit save.
Eugene, will you
I
slow
love
down?
to line
I'm
my
sorry, Miss
programs
Kendall,
all
I
up.
really can't.
Why not?
Because I finally succeeded in adjusting the search function on the imagination station so that it'll record data on backup disks in the computer room, and I must now use the station to learn what I can about Whit's End, the land it sits on, and the tunnels beneath it in order to help us battle Mr. Glassman.
One sentence.
Excuse me.
I'm glad this got explained
What
again.
makes you so sure you're not doing anything in history that'll help us?
Elementary. Why, after all these years, would Mr. Glassman suddenly choose now to close down the shop?
Well, he didn't have the nerve while Whit was here.
No, too much time has passed. What has happened recently to trigger this event?
Jason wanted to turn the Underground Railroad tunnel into a display?
Correct.
What a
But
sentence.
that doesn't make sense because they were already doing the gang vandalism shit. They were already breaking down the social order to prepare ye the way for Regis Blackard, the
Right.
devious Dutchman. And They were doing that before Jason was like, I should go down to the Underground Railroad tunnel and open it up for the kids.
Right. The whole inciting incident of this entire arc doesn't truly make a whole lot of sense. Once things get rolling, like Josh and I were talking right before we got on here about like, okay, what is Regis Blackguard's actual plan here? Because once you like parse it out in a row, it does make sense, but the way the exposition is delivered, it does get a little muddled and confusing, mostly because there's like a lot of like pivot changes that happen as he's adapting to circumstances in the town.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It does make sense in the overall thing, but again, the inciting incident makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. What was his plan? That he thought that he could like convince Jason, he could incept Jason into wanting to open this tunnel for like a display, but we don't ever see that either, right?
Yeah.
We don't even ever see him be like, oh, we just got this thing in the mail from a mysterious person saying that we could monetize the thing, you know?
Did he have a bug like under the counter in Whit's End, and then he heard Jason say, I want to open up the tunnel, and he's like, fuck yeah, okay, it's time.
It's in the organ, Brian. It's been in the organ this whole time. And they pulled it out, and it sounded like,
there we go.
I'm trying to find a way to trigger the, what's his name riding a horse.
I mean, you can just do it by saying that.
Okay, good.
That was Phil Lawler figuring out the plot for these last 4 episodes.
A lot of my confusion throughout this. Less confusing. There's nothing confusing about any of this. By the time you get to the end, it's an incredibly prosaic plan that just has about 12 completely unnecessary steps.
Yeah.
You could factor this equation way down from where it is. You could have just broken in and done this overnight.
Yeah, because
go up the service road or whatever, bust in, get your shit, and you're out. That's it.
Right.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. Because at this point, what we know is that in the tunnel, there's a mineral. There's something special about that mineral, though we don't fully quite know yet what it is. And so Regis wants to get the mineral. He needs to get the damn rock. This isn't that complicated, but it becomes so complicated. So the Israelites continue their recon work. Rodney notices that Lucy is scouting them out in the bowling alley.
Immediately.
Just right away.
She walks in and they're like, hey, who's that? That's a Christian. One of those.
One of those.
She's the only Christian in any bowling alley in the whole state of Ohio.
There's so few Christians in Odyssey, you can just spot them. They're like, hey, it's one of them Christians.
So this is going to pay off later on, but just keep that in the back of your head. And meanwhile, Eugene continues his research in the imagination station.
I am once again seeing the story of William Ross, a slave who used the Underground Railroad and whose path took him to the parish church of Reverend Andrew in the 1850s.
A clock ticks. It's 2024. A clock ticks. It's 1985.
Do you want any more soup?
No, thank you.
Remember this?
How's your arm?
It's good. What was that you put on there?
It's a salve. The Indians around here showed me how to make it from some herbs.
The
and
Indians?
The mineral we found down in the tunnel.
Mineral?
So this is your house?
It belongs to the church. It's called the rectory.
If you want to catch up to your father, you should leave as soon as it gets dark.
I didn't notice that before. Stop! I want to go back, you unwieldy machine. Back!
That's right. And who wrote the Underground Railroad Parts 1, 2, and 3?
Was it Lawler?
Marshall Younger, lore guy.
Okay.
So
we got the
lore
lore guy
himself was able to throw in some new bit of lore that they were able to harvest for Darkness Before Dawn.
And of course, longtime listeners will remember episode 109 of our show, Gone with the Whit, which was also Whit's Endless Summer number 29.
Yep.
God damn it, I hate this shit. And that was where we talked about the Underground Railroad episode. That was where we learned, and now we're getting a reminder here as well, in Imagination Station flashback format, that indeed the tunnels below Whit's End were used as a staging point and a place for people to hide on the Underground Railroad.
Yes. And in our episode, Whit Gets Racist, you can also hear a little bit more about the history of Native Americans on the land that is now McAllister Park and Whit's End. Or they never have a tribe, so maybe it's just like an actual group of like Indian people who immigrated there before somehow the white settlers in the Northwest Territory.
No, it's just Mel Brooks, actually. It's
okay.
It's Mel Brooks. Except
Speaking
a bunch
Yiddish.
of extras.
Yeah.
The bit where Eugene says, Oh, I never noticed that before, is such a self-congratulatory piece of shit. It's just like, we gave you all the clues, stupid children. Did you not see? And to be fair, I didn't. So I guess, you know what? Credit where credit's due.
Here's a point where we can say, in the last Wit's Endless Summer, we were 3/4 of the way through the episode, and AJ went, wait a second. Is the mineral in the basement Ruku? Is all of this Ruku?
And Brian cut it.
And I was like, we're going to cut that, but I do want people to know that you did figure it out before we got there.
Well, the mineral isn't quite
It's not quite Ruku.
It's very close, and we'll get to there in a little bit. But before we continue to learn more about this fucking mineral, as I do this shit, I'm like, why did they write it like this? Why?
Well, because then they can just use clips from a whole episode that they did in the past, and they didn't have a union contract, so they don't have to pay any residuals to use it again.
Right. So here's my question for everyone at this point when you're listening to it. Because, there's been like 8 of these at this point, right? We're entering the home stretch. Does it ever feel like they were just kind of filling time?
Yes.
Like, to anyone else, it like, I feel like this story could have been a pretty good 5-parter that just happens to be a 12-parter.
Especially these last few episodes, I was like, if you cut down a lot of the extraneous stuff, you got a pretty banger 2-part as far as because especially by the end, they're cramming stuff in it. It flies in that last episode or so. Like, you could have just cut straight to that from, I think, the Eugene conversion, which is sort of like the high point of this whole thing, like drama-wise, is that despite the fact that like it gets super action-y later on, you could have just bopped right into that.
Billy and Sam, remember them? No, of course you don't.
Sam, Butch's friend?
They head over to the Bones of Wrath hideout to try to get some more evidence.
Well, let's get on with the operation.
Operation? There's more?
Uh-huh. Jason wants us to give the bones a sign that we've been around, that we know where they are and how to get to them.
You mean we're gonna trash the place?
How could you trash a dump like this? We're going to clean it up.
What?
Fuck off! Loser shit!
You know what the new punk rock is?
They go to the hideout. Sam has been to this hideout before when he was hanging out with Butch, when his mom was like making him hang out with Butch, and it was not this nasty. Like, they realize that this is somehow worse off than it was before. There's bones? Like, not bones of wrath, bones of animals. Like they were eating food and just dropping banana peels.
It's the cave from The Descent.
Yeah.
Except for more pork rinds or whatever there. Yeah.
Lauren Ligorium just loves his pork rinds.
He sure does.
It's clearly not the hideout anymore, right? They're telegraphing in big time, like, not the hideout, not the hideout.
Yeah, Brian, like you said, it's just fucking loser shit. Right, I mean,
they're gay wads.
It's just like again, it's like Jason's like, I'm gonna flip this chair around and explain to you Jesus like preacher mentality, right? Has infected these kids to the point where like, you know what is cool? Skateboard, and also not leaving your pork rinds everywhere. We're gonna show them, and they're gonna come back and be
clean
like,
this place up real fast.
Who?
A power washer.
Yeah,
that's true.
Where's the Australian kid? He went through the fucking no-no
making
door.
Gay club music.
I assumed he just died at the end of that episode. Like, as soon as whatever his last line was, he got hit by a car immediately after that. It's like, oi! And then died or something. He called the car a cunt and then died.
Die.
So alongside this hideout shit, again, we're back with Eugene here. And now we have, I don't know why they fucking did this, but, previously Eugene is seeing clips from previous episodes played back. Now he actually meets Reverend Andrew, who's the guy in the rectory, who...
You damn near Kildery.
That you're goddamn right, Brian. And we get this interaction.
Journal entry supplemental. I am in what looks like the charred remains of Reverend Andrew's house in Odyssey. If I remember correctly, it was burned to the ground after slave traders.
This is Josh's keyboard.
I wish I knew how he was writing this. They don't clue you in.
You there!
If I've told you looters and gawkers once, I've told you a dozen times to stay away from my house.
Oh, my humble apologies, sir. I am neither looter nor gawker. Reverend Andrew, is it not?
That's right.
I'm with Kotaku. We got sold off a long time ago.
Oh boy. Are you telling me that this college-aged dude is alone in the imagination station and he's just not like jerking it constantly? Like he's not going back and like meeting Betsy Ross and being like, hey, let's fuck. Like I mean, what?
Wait,
what
hold on.
exactly?
No.
Madison.
I think this, AJ, I think this says way more about you than it does about anything else.
What? No, she's good with her hands.
You have a fantasy to fuck Betsy Ross, the mother of the American flag?
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Hold on. The fraud whose fucking liar grandchildren claimed she was the mother of the American flag. She was just some bitch with a needle.
No, that's not true. I played Day of the Tentacle. I know what
Here's
her
the
deal
thing.
is.
Only if you go back in time will they let you fuck the flag.
She put a star for each time we banged.
Oh.
That's why there were 13.
Okay.
This kind of brings up a question that I hadn't
it
really.
does.
That's true. Yeah, one single question. No,
It's true. She was a fraud.
Are you free to engage in various sinful activities within the imagination station, or does it just give you an electrical shock or something? If you're like Eugene's like, I can't wait to jerk it or something, and it's like, zzz, and he's like, I'm in hell again.
Here's what I will say:
it takes you directly to hell right when you're about to come. You go to hell.
Every so often, I like to go on AO3 and see what our fans have been up to, and one of our fans did write a fanfic where Whit gets fucked by a gladiator in the imagination station.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We might, hey, as a treat, we might read some of that a little bit later in this episode.
Might we?
Eugene is just so focused on like solving the mystery of what's under Whit's end. And it just seems at this point so obvious that it makes me think Eugene is dumber than he has been presented as before. And that's fine, but I do think it's like, because it's a kid's show, and I understand that you don't want to necessarily have the characters be ahead of the audience, but also he's a super genius canonically, so he's kind of supposed to be a little bit ahead of the curve. And he's also found Jesus, so he should have like double the capacity.
Wait, what do you think becoming a Christian does?
Oh, I don't know. You could see the time knife or whatever, or like the time like line, like you can see in like 4 dimensions.
Did the pastor hold you under the water for too long while you were being baptized, AJ?
No, look, when you become a Southern Baptist, I mean, come on, Scott, you could back me up on this. Yeah. You begin to see outside of time itself, and you begin to talk to like the space armadillo about all things that have been born out of his creation.
It is not always an armadillo. It appears to you in a form that you can understand.
Right, and for me, and for me, it's a guy in a little shell who likes to hide. The space armadillo appears to you, and he sort of sniffs at you, and he speaks to you in the language of your father.
And then you touch him and you get leprosy because they carry leprosy.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that's the passage of time.
Then you have to wash in the Jordan 7 times. Or...
I'm learning a lot today.
Call back to Chronicles?
The Bible.
Call back to the Bible, folks.
Call back to a little thing called the Bible.
Hey, got him. So we now know that the mineral has significance. We've heard that beat now for the 10th time. And Jellyfish shows up at Whit's End with a gang of hooting and hollering goons in tow.
Good grief. What's that?
Good grief.
I'll have a look. Connie, you stay back.
Can you see anything?
And now, a message for the Israelites and all their friends at Whit's End.
What?
That's such a funny delivery.
I'm gonna do this in public.
Used on William is a strange mixture of molds, fungus, and a mineral derived from the ground in this area. When we dug the tunnel, we found an abundant sampling of the mineral. By itself, it seems to serve no purpose at all.
Does this mineral have a name?
The locals call it the one. I guess because it's mixed with something else.
What? What's going on?
Indian words.
A power loss? No! Not when I'm so close!
There you go. There he is.
Jason! Keep your head down, Connie!
What in the world? Jason! Connie!
Eugene, stay up there and call the police!
So this is some very skillful editing. I
the
really
glitch
like
stuff
this.
is really cool, and the waveforms look fucking crazy.
Yeah, the cut from the glass shattering back into the imagination station is very, very, very well done. I was really hoping that the glitching was intentional, like Whit had like sabotaged that particular adventure to not say what the thing was.
Well, that wasn't an adventure though. That was that's what makes all of this so weird is that
my God, you're
this
right.
It's not a programmed Whit adventure. It is somehow able to instantaneously dramatize like registers and spreadsheets from the 19th century and news articles. And so Eugene has actually somehow procedurally generated this event in the imagination station.
Yeah, this is what AI allows us to do.
I was going to say, Scott, I know you're a storyteller. You're a big fan of generative AI and the great new things that are happening in the world of tech.
It'll change everything. It already has.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm actually afraid of how intelligent it is.
It feels like a real guy.
And of course, there is an AI in Whit's End, but that's Mabel.
Yeah, Shodan. Yeah.
And Whit keeps her gagged. She does not speak unless spoken to.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Well, because applesauce is gone, though, right? Like
applesauce is gone, but presumably the computer that sits behind his bookshelf is still there.
Yeah,
it's in the board game still.
Oh, that's
I
horrifying.
have always pictured Mabel as just being Shodan, like straight up.
But also, what a horrible fate for Mabel, who is sentient, to then be trapped behind a bookcase for all of eternity.
Yeah.
And not even connected to the internet.
She doesn't even have a soul, so she can't commune with our Lord.
Yeah. Which is like, I'm God here.
This is why I am going to force you guys to play System Shock 2 at some point. There are a lot of parallels
there are so
here.
many buttons.
You too, Scott. Josh is going to come to your home and make you play System Shock 2 again.
Okay. Showing up at the house and I'm like, oh God, it's that time.
He's gonna have one of those big old like CD-ROM like computer cases that they used to sell at like CompUSA and just like knock on your window and just nod maniacally. It's time, Scott. It's time.
And you know what else it's time for? It's time for motherfuckers to start getting blasted.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's right. Because there are phasers in this universe. So what has happened is Lucy has not been kidnapped, but now it has become a kidnapping. Rodney has approached Lucy at the bowling alley. He's like, we're going to take you to the new hideout. And she's like, okay. And she goes, Jellyfish comes back from ransacking Whit's End, which apparently he does completely in public with his face and voice known to everyone, does not get arrested.
Announcing it.
How many bones of wrath are there? Because a bunch of them are at the bowling alley, presumably.
Who are these bones of wrath coming down?
To Jellyfish's defense,
point.
the only person that was there was the news guy, but he doesn't actually have a camera or his microphone plugged into anything.
Also, rip to the news guy. He never shows up again in this.
He's fucking gone. He's replaced.
We have like 4 more news guys show up, but AJ's like deluded newsman.
Same series. Why not use the same guy?
So much of this is narrated by broadcasters in some sort of fashion. Like seriously, like a full episode's worth of the time from this entire thing is just people going, I'm blah blah from blah blah blah. Let me just read out all the shit we can't dramatize.
Exactly.
And most of it they can too. It's like someone collapsing while giving a speech. They don't need the news guy there to do that. Anyway, so Lucy is now at the hideout. Jellyfish has come back. He's like mad at Rodney for kidnapping the girl. And they're like, oh, we didn't kidnap her. And he's like, great. Now we're in the clear legally, so I'm going to make a lot of violent physical threats towards her. And the police can't get me, ever.
Right. And then this happens.
Okay, Rusty, take her out.
It'll be a pleasure.
Ah!
What was that?
I don't know. Rusty?
He's out cold.
Well, what happened to him?
I'm not sticking around to fight. Ah!
Rodney? What's going on? What's happening?
Don't you know? It's a rescue.
Who is that? Who are you?
Don't get all bent out of shape.
It's just me.
Richard?
Maxwell, what do you want? Why are you doing this?
Lucy's a friend of mine.
Number 1, so glad to hear the sound library from the original XCOM make its return once again. That is once again that is the sound of the fucking laser pistol in XCOM. It made me happy.
I like to think that they purchased their sound library from Focus on the Family.
That Microprose did? Yeah, no, definitely.
They're such huge fans.
Yeah. Thing 2.
Yeah.
So we have heard a lot from our fans over the course of these episodes about how Richard Maxwell was sort of a sexual awakening for a lot of girls when they were like younger, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I genuinely, this was the first time where I listened to it and it's like, okay, I get it. Like this guy is...
Josh also had a sexual awakening.
That's right. You don't want to know about what I did after listening to this episode.
It involved Betsy Ross.
But like, this is him really coming in, being a bad boy in a way that is not usually allowed in this universe.
Yeah.
And standing up for a girl. And this I think plays into a very like common fantasy where it's like I do kind of like, it's a little this is a weird fucking thing to say about a children's show, but it is a little bit kinky, and I think that's fucking weird.
Get on my back, Spider Monkey.
A big thing, though, that I just want to go back to here for 1 second. What do the people at Focus on the Family think a stun gun is? Because Richard is getting these guys. It makes just a wah sound. He's not in the room.
Right.
Do they think it's a laser?
I think they think it's the phaser from Star Trek set to stun.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think that the sound effect for a taser or for a stun gun doesn't...
It's distinctive. It's tick, 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 tick.
Right.
It's
It is very distinctive, but like, it's not something that a kid would necessarily like have a reference for in the same way.
You could do like a woof, 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 right? Like a little Jacob's Ladder type
or
thing.
Or like a little like, like the cartoon I'm being electrocuted
that would make
sound effect. Yeah.
That would make more sense to me. And so I think that was sort of their way of like overcorrecting for it. But I also have the theory that ever since they summoned Shalman all the way back when, they introduced a little magic into Odyssey. And so I think they're actually just weaponizing demon magic in that moment because he's the bad boy, right?
Richard is, I think, one of the only compelling characters in this entire thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
correct.
That is such a low bar to kind of hit because
It's
like
in
no
hell.
one is compelling at all in any of this. And so Richard doesn't, again, he is one of the more action-oriented characters in all this, and he has a completely understandable motivation for the most part. It's weird that he's like, this 8-year-old is my friend or something, as opposed to just stop kidnapping a child.
But again,
assholes.
there is also, I think, sort of a psychological component underpinning it, because we have to remember the fact that Richard almost killed Lucy.
Yeah.
Straight up.
He hurt her seriously after grooming her.
There is something that they did not intend to do here that they very much did in terms of providing this raw undercurrent of something that you don't normally find in a children's show that activated a number of people in a very specific way. And I think that's weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, they clearly have just never bothered to ask kids what, they think or feel. I mean, particularly girls, right? Which is sort of what Maxwell
for sure.
had this awakening for.
Yeah.
And I think that had they done so, perhaps this would have been written differently, but they don't see anything wrong with this, right?
Yeah.
They're just...
It's just your usual kind of...
It's not on the radar.
Kid show peril kind of thing.
Right. I think that, like, because Richard is, like, again, one of the only, like, morally gray is, like, he's barely morally gray. But, like, he's...
By Odyssey standards, though.
Yeah, he's reformed. He's fine.
He's not reformed. He's Methodist, actually.
That's true. He's reading John Piper. But that's my go-to reformed theologian, I guess. John Piper, that guy. But
he likes pie.
Having him on here is interesting because I wrote this down, but like it's not that he seems more adult than anyone else, but like it's like, oh, he seems like I think you guys talked on the last episode about how like Connie was more interesting before she was a Christian. Eugene, I actually didn't hear much of Christian Eugene. Most of my listening to the show was pre-Christian Eugene. I was kind of disappointed. Thought Eugene was going to hold out a little longer. But the characters on here that are interesting tend to be the ones who are not. They get very dull and boring as soon as, because this show is trying to demonstrate lessons. It's trying to demonstrate good behavior. And so you kind of have to go out of market, to get, you have to get an
counterpoint.
Kind of thing in order to find a person who's capable of any sort of anyone who has any sort of depth, basically. I think that then ends up with Richard being one of the only compelling characters. And then on the other side of that's Jack, who just kind of is an enigma and all.
I forgot how annoying he was specifically in Darkness Before Dawn. because he doesn't do well with a counterpoint. Josh and I have warm feelings towards him because like he's good to kids. You know, he actually listens to them.
Than Whit by far.
But like when he's talking to adults, he just always gets into these circular conversations that he thinks is like Socratic, but it's like it's just irritating.
Well, here's what it is.
Fuck.
If you want to be honest, what I believe it actually is it's literally the voice of Phil Lawler, because I have seen the way that he talks to people online because he's far too active on Facebook groups, and the way that Jack thinks and reasons is exactly the same as Phil Lawler.
Yeah, he's a self-insert for someone, because I think the reason that Jack bothers me so much in these episodes, and it's specifically, I think you hit it, when he's talking to kids, he seems really cool and stuff. When he's talking to other adults, I'm like, I have met this motherfucker so many times in life.
Oh, sure.
Like, he's just running off a good common sense. Oh, yeah. I don't know why you can't see it. He's just such a smug idiot.
It's amazing having like a Grandpa Simpson monologue about wearing an onion on the belt about a story that doesn't go anywhere, but have him be 40 years too young to be doing that. And it's like, it always feels in the way that most dialogue in Odyssey feels, which is like, what if somebody in their like late 70s, early 80s wrote dialogue for somebody like that's 9 or 10 years old? And I feel like that even affects Jack, who is supposed to be older, but he sounds ancient in a weird way, like primordial, like
and it's funny when you think that the writers here are like in their 30s.
They're
already this get off my lawn.
And can you imagine? Because that actually is something that I hadn't directly thought about. Like, can you imagine literally us, writing like this right now? That's fucking insane.
I'm currently doing it as we speak.
Automatic
I wondered what the quill was for, Brian.
Last piece about the stun guns, by the way, there's a really funny throwaway line that apparently they just stock stun guns at the Electric Palace.
That's actually good.
You can never be too careful.
So anyway, Philip Glossman shows up, right? He shows up at Whit's End with the full force of the state behind him. 7 different local and state authorities who are on his side, and they have all come to the consensus that Whit's End needs to be shut down completely. The mineral in the basement may or may not have toxic qualities and must be subject to further review. And, of course, the vandalism shows that this place just isn't very safe.
Yeah, he doesn't need the 2 reasons. He could just say the vandalism.
He sure could.
The vandalism proves it's not safe enough. We're locking down the park. We own the park. You can't get into Whit's End.
Right, because again, the land under Whit's End is owned by the city.
This all gets closed down, which now means that Regis Blackguard is seeing the fulfillment of his plan. And so we get our nice little evil laugh time.
Oh. For so long I have awaited this day. Whit's End is mine.
There's an 8-second laugh.
Good.
There's an 8-second laugh from Earl Bowen, man.
And I had this thought as I was listening to this. Why didn't they just have more of this? Why wasn't Regis Blackguard just like doing an evil laugh and scheming evilly, like fucking like he's so good. He's so good. He can take this like mid-ass writing and it reaches this unbelievable status of just it's so listenable. It's so good. God damn it.
We needed several episodes dedicated to civil procedure, Josh, for kids.
And kids doing counter-espionage and good terrorism. Yeah, the Regis is interesting because he's such a shit to everybody, but like one hell of an administrator. Like he's got like a lot of there's a lot of needlessly moving parts in his plan here, and he just is such a piece of shit to everyone around him that I'm like, what are these people getting? Like, how good is he paying? Like,
well, he just laughs for them for 8 seconds, and they're like, okay,
like, oh, thank
I'm
you.
in.
That was all worth it. I do love that he's like, finally, I can be inside this Bible ice cream parlor. Finally.
Normally open to the public. That I could just normally walk in and go into the basement of anytime I please.
Okay, but to be fair.
I can fuck Betsy Ross, finally.
Finally. To be fair, right?
Wait, this is what he says when he fucks Betsy Ross.
Yeah, what does he say?
Until he...
There we go.
There it is.
Yeah.
You're right. All of this could have been done so much easier. No one's checking out the cave. And in fact, had you not tipped Jason off to perhaps like opening it up for the attraction or whatever, you probably just could have gone in there regardless.
Now,
but no one was down there.
They do cross their T and dot their lowercase j in the last episode, though, because they say straight up why he doesn't want other people in that tunnel, and we'll get to that later.
And to be fair,
sure.
also, Regis has been harboring a grudge for a very long time against Whit. He blames Whit, rightfully, I will add, for destroying his entire business venture in Odyssey when he still had the arcade, right?
Now, to be fair, he was using that business venture to just like hack Whit's sentient computer over and over again. So like he did have it coming.
You didn't say that word.
Like at this point, computers are just still very magical. In fiction.
Oh, yeah.
This was the first mention of a cell phone in the series.
A cellular telephone.
A cellular telephone.
It's also like in order to operate a computer, you have to hit the keys harder than you've ever hit anything in your life.
That's just how keyboards were back then.
That's
they all just had Josh's keyboard.
I was going to say, to be fair, that's what it sounds like when I type. Like, this is not...
But not on a laptop. Like, no one has laptops with mechanical keys like that in the 90s.
Let's keep moving right on here, because...
Good evening, Odyssey. You're listening to Grieve and Stephen Sully's Midnight Rodeo, and here's all the news that's fit to ride. News. Local Odyssey elementary student Casey Cartwright claimed on Tuesday that while she was eating her state-mandated school lunch, she thought she saw the Virgin Mary in her fish sticks. She was immediately arrested and thrown in the juvenile detention center without parole. Officials questioned about the imprisonment claimed that they had no knowledge of it, and even if they did, they wouldn't be abiding by, quote, any of that Catholic nonsense anyway. Good luck, Casey. You're going to need it. In other news, the recall election continues apace, with notable Dutchman and child psychologist Dr. Blackguard apparently suffering some sort of collapse on stage at his rally earlier today. When interviewed about the incident, local voters expressed their concerns about Blackguard's potential performance as mayor, saying that, quote, he better not be sick. We hate the sick. Ew, ew, ew. Sick people are so gross, ew. Here's hoping he makes a full recovery. Now, folks, this would normally be the time that I would resume your regularly scheduled broadcast of tunes exclusively from 1953 to 1962, but tonight, we're gonna mix things up a little. Yes, folks, old Grieve and Stevens feeling a little feisty, so please enjoy 3 non-stop hours of heavy death metal occasionally interrupted by the phrase, Hail Satan! And if any moral or spiritual leaders in town want to stop it, well, you know where to find me. This next tune is called Jesus Fingered Me Behind the Bleachers by the band Immaculate Ejaculation. And it goes out to my big brother Jimmy. Jimmy, wherever you are, good luck. This is Grieve and Stephen Sully's Midnight Rodeo, and be careful out there, folks. Kind of feels like the end of the...
Where are you? There you are. Should be this way. Let's hurry it up back there.
Wow, is you all hearing that echoes? Feel like a regular Floyd Collins up in here.
That's quite a little map you've made there, Lawrence. Where'd you learn to do that?
Well, my friends and I used to play tabletop games sometimes. I was the DM, so I had to make a lot of maps. I like making maps.
Did you guys know they made a Floyd Collins musical? My ma took me to see it in Philly last year. People are saying it's the best musical of the 90s, and it's only 90-friggin-5.
Hey, we'll find them, Lawrence. Your friends, I mean. They gotta be down here somewhere.
We should keep moving. The maze is stable for now, but who knows how long that will last.
Floyd Collins harmonized with his own echo. Here, watch. Yo-lo-lo-de-o. Yo, hey, I'm walking here. No, I'm walking here. No, I'm walking here. No, I'm walking here. You can't, you friggin' echo.
Would you keep it down, Butch? We're trying to keep a low profile here.
Geez, sorry. Gods forbids we have something to distract us from the never-ending cave.
Butch, for what it's worth, I believe you have the voice of an angel.
Aw, thanks, Pinky. But don't you tell nobody. I got a reputation to maintain.
You doing okay, Jerry?
We are fine, Lord Gregorian. It is difficult being back in the maze, but being surrounded by friends is a comfort to us.
Well, hopefully we'll be topside soon. Isn't that right, Lawrence?
It seems as if we're approaching the origin of the transmissions, which means by my calculations, the lab should be right here.
I don't mean to backseat navigating or nothing, but this appears to be a dead end.
Doesn't make any sense. The signal is strongest here. The lab has always been where the signal is strongest. The maze must know that we seek to harm it. We'll have to regroup, come up with a new plan.
No! Sully's distraction at the radio station is a one-time thing. It's now or never, so we gotta come up with something better.
I'm open to suggestions.
Oh, what if we are calling out to the labs? Perhaps it is shy and needs to know that it can be loved. Labs? Good and hello, labs. Where are you? We just want to get inside of you. Labs?
Jerry, you spent a lot of time down here. You got any ideas?
Our time here was spent mostly on instinct, trying to find our next meal. But we always felt the maze had a will of its own. If the lab is not here, it is because the maze chose for it not to be.
Twizzle stizzles.
Okay, so go with me here, everybody. We could stand around here debating this all day, or count as points. We could just blow a big hole in the wall.
Butch, no!
Bone Zone!
You idiot! You could have gotten us all killed!
Well, sorry, Braceface. When I see something, I want to blows it up. I'm just a little stinker that way.
What is that? What the heck is that?
The walls, they are clamping shut.
What do we do, Lawrence?
We run!
Run!
Right! What? Under! Go!
Yeah. Wow! My freaking leg!
It's stuck! Help me, Lawrence!
There's no time!
Move! I ain't leaving him!
You want to die too?
One! Don't let it take me! One!
Don't worry, Butch, I'll get you out of this!
Pinky, grab him!
Upsy daisy, Lord Latorium!
No! Put me down! Butch!
One, help me!
There! The lab! Everybody in! Go! Okay, there's the lights. Everyone okay?
My organs are precisely where they should be, deep in my cavities!
We are in one piece.
Lord, are you hurt?
Butch, we left him.
Hey. Look at me, Ligorium. If we didn't, the maze would have taken us all. You do what you have to do to survive down here, okay?
Okay.
Good. The computer here should be able to give us the current layout of the maze and guide us towards the core. It will take a few moments to access, so I would suggest taking a breather. I noticed a water cooler over there. I suggest you use it.
A water cooler?
Oh, I love water, especially when it is cooled.
Hey, there's writing on the wall here. Jerry, would you mind giving me a boost?
Certainly, Lord Gregorium. 1, 2...
Yep. The Patmos Foundation. At the brink of revelation, there is Patmos. What is all this?
We have seen this symbol before, on many items in the Emporium upstairs, and on much detritus down here.
Well, cults don't run on sunshine and rainbows, I guess. Well, some probably do, but these must be the people funding all this.
We have a bad feeling about this place, Lord Ligorium.
Everybody's? Could I be requesting that you all get into this back room as quickly as possible? Bitte and danke.
Coming, Pinky. We almost ready with that map?
Just a few more minutes.
Counting on you, Lawrence. What is it, Pinky?
I was looking in the back here for another tank for the water cooler because I drank the entirety of the first tank for the water cooler because generally I do not drink enough water and hydration is very important for a growing man.
Pinky?
Apologies, but as I was snooping, I found these tanks which do not contain water but do in fact contain people.
Oh my god. Not just any people. Jerry, does that look like...
Lord, we must go, now.
The doors, they're sealed.
Lawrence, open the doors. Lawrence?
I'm sorry, Lauren. He said he'd take me to my friends. I didn't have a choice.
Lawrence, you don't have to do this. We can still... Oh god, it's gas! Jerry, pry those doors open!
It is too strong for us. We are sorry, friends. We are.
Just a quick power nap, and then we'll figure out how to purple!
No, there's gotta be a way out of this. There's gotta be a way.
Shh, shh, shh. That's right. Go to sleep now, Lauren Ligorium. And don't you worry your sweet little head. The best is yet to come.
We've gotten the evil laugh. We've gotten the grand plan coming to fruition here. Checkmate has been reached. And this takes us into episode 332, Another Chance.
Yes, what happens in chess after checkmate, which is more things.
Yes, we go to Bangkok.
Hey, the city don't know what the city is getting.
This is Kurt Morse with Channel 10 News. Odyssey residents are stunned at the complete closure and quarantine of Whit's End, a popular ice cream and discovery emporium. The reason for the closure is the soil beneath it may contain toxic chemicals. Philip Glossman, former local city councilman who now works out of the governor's office, made the announcement yesterday.
We're not saying it's conclusive. We're just saying that the soil may contain a potentially dangerous element. I will add this, though. I think it's terrible that certain parties didn't check the soil before they allowed and encouraged children to play on that property.
Bleeding heart liberal.
Yeah. I'm so bored. I'm
like
so bored at this point.
Ice cream and discovery emporium. It's like, oh yeah, I operate a discovery emporium. We're going to get into ice cream. Or vice versa.
Yeah.
I love that Whit's main competition would be Discovery Zone.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, we're going DZ.
If they ever get a Dippin' Dots vending machine, it's over for Whit.
Absolutely.
So, the future? I told you to never mention the future around
But
me.
I love that, like, Glossman is just like a concern troll for regulations and children getting sick, which we can have none of here.
Yeah.
We will hurt the children.
Dare to discipline with toxic minerals.
To the point of Phil Lawler's personal ideology, which really shines through in these episodes. He is such a huge anti-government intervention crank.
Yeah,
like that's his pet issue is children need character. They need to be exposed to the elements. They need to be able to discover stuff on their own time.
Rub some dirt on it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that to an extent, but he really takes it to the full crank place of like, and that is why there can't be any government regulation of our waterways.
Yeah. This is why we should not test for radon.
Right.
And age of consent laws. Yeah.
As a kid, what do you love more than watching the news? When you're sitting down for dinner with your parents, the one thing you're kind of like, give me that Channel 5 fix. I need it. Like,
okay,
I
that's
need
what Josh was actually like, though.
Kind of was.
Is that
Kinda
true?
Was. I don't think I ever told the story on the podcast about the time that I went to WXMI Fox 17 News to watch them tape the news.
Oh, wow.
Wait, for school
God.
or
no,
just like
just because it
just
was
for fun.
something that I thought would be cool, and I don't even remember how it happened. I think somebody got me a hookup through something, and it was like
Josh wheeling and dealing from the age of 8.
I don't know. I think it maybe had something to do with like having done fundraising for cystic fibrosis shit.
Oh yeah.
And then like I think
I see.
I had a spot that was gonna air
on the news, yeah.
I wasn't actually on the news myself, but
Okay.
I had recorded a spot that they were gonna air as part of the broadcast. And so I went to the studio and I watched the whole thing get put together from end to end. And it was actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Josh, did you burn your Make-A-Wish wish on going to watch the news being broadcast?
No, I used my Make-A-Wish to get a pinball machine.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, great.
Fantastic.
That's honestly, that rules,
and
man.
for the
That
heads
fucking
out there,
rules.
which pinball machine was it, Josh?
Attack from Mars.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
That's a very well-liked machine.
Now that I'm not going to die anymore, maybe I should donate it back to Make-A-Wish.
Ooh.
No, Josh, I think you double down. I think you get another wish with it, and you just write a note that said, "I lived, bitch." And get your
I
next
thought,
two wishes.
AJ, you were going to say double down and get cystic fibrosis again.
Cystic fibrosis 2.
Absolutely.
Cystic fibroser.
Two cystic, two
there it is.
fibrosis.
There it
I
is.
like the idea too. So like a lot of kids, listen to this in the big sort of, puffy sealed tape stuff. But
Yeah.
a lot of times when I heard it when I was a kid was in the car or something. Like it was, it was on
Right.
after Focus on the Family, which listening to that as a child is very strange because it's just like James Dobson being like, and this is what the band 9 Inch Nails is saying to the children.
He's such a
and stuff.
fucking crank. I hate him.
Oh yeah, no, everyone hates him.
By the way, just wanted to point
Yeah.
this up, just as a slight derail, but I've been listening to a podcast lately called I Hate James Dobson, which is exactly what it sounds
It's
like.
really good.
Easily my
Nice.
favorite new discovery this year.
Yeah.
So go
Holy
check
shit,
it out.
yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out. But
It's
so
a
I was saying
podcast
it's
that goes
like-
through each of his books one at a time.
Oh, well, first of all, the nails that went through Jesus's wrists weren't 9 inches, okay? They were at least 13.
That's my Dobson, I guess.
Other than the okay, that's actually pretty good. He doesn't really
Is it
say
really?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Shot
not
in the
bad.
dark.
I was trying to do a James Dobson recently, no reason, and
Lay it on us. Lay it on us, Scott. Let's hear it.
I know that's the thing. I can't do it. That's the thing. I could not. I can't like. It's like those like languages where it's like as an English speaker, I'm just not used to doing this noise at all. I just kind of can't do it. It's like that French vowel that's like you say ooh, but with like an e mouth shape or whatever or something. It's like that. I just cannot do his fucking awful voice. But so you're in the car and you're listening to this and you have no idea what the fuck's going on. But I like the idea that it's like, well, as a child, I really want to know what broadly the media has to say about what's going on in this. Like, they really I need to know what the reactions around town are. And
What's
I'm like,
the spin?
I know this show only has name characters and then just rabble kind of along the side. And you don't usually have to care about what's going on with the rabble at all.
And there's some great rabble sounds.
I was gonna say.
In this.
And I'll
I
play.
actually have this written down. Some great walla.
Can we hear it here?
I'll play this
Because
right here. Yeah.
Tom Riley is getting basically grilled by the rabble here.
There's still no reason
don't care about our children.
That's not true. I do care. And so do the folks at Whit's End.
There's nothing but a cover-up. A cover-up.
Cover-up. Cover-up. Cover-up.
Please, people, please.
Greatest day of that cover-up guy's life.
Let's all try.
How old is Tom Riley supposed to be?
108.
I can't tell if he's very old or if he is just that wholesome a hayseed that he just gets that old catcher's mitt voice.
I always assumed he was like 65-ish.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but I mean, I guess Maxwell can be friends with an 8-year-old. Maybe Whit can be friends with close friends with a 30-year-old. I don't know, but I always imagined him being quite old.
This show was a sexual awakening for a lot of 65-year-olds who heard him and Whit. And they're like, problematic age gap, but
We're doing age gap discourse now. But just to point out what exactly is going on here. Tom Riley, as we'll recall, the mayor of Odyssey, previously got caught up in a chemical spill incident that poisoned his apples.
all his apples.
He was then found to be taking contributions from the company that did that pollution.
Yeah, they had a shell company that did political donations to every mayor, except they didn't actually do it to every mayor. They just told the mayor
it's
that
a completely nonsensical scandal because it's like, oh yeah, these guys that screwed you over, they gave you some money later. It's like, okay.
It's all about the appearance of impropriety, though, right? And
the appearance of evil.
That's right, Brian.
What would Tom's profit from this be?
Unclear at best. But the point here is that Tom now because of all of the shenanigans at Whit's End, and of course the fact that Tom is close personal friends with John Avery Whittaker, this appears to me to be another blemish on his reputation.
Yeah.
He's just getting caught up in scandal after scandal. And of course, we are in the midst of an upcoming recall election. So things are not going well for Tom. And Blackguard, on the other hand, is giving a speech across town to promote his own mayoral candidacy when this happens.
We must protect our children.
There's that rabble again.
Protect them and provide them with safe play areas and learning facilities. You'll have to excuse me, fellow citizens. I'm suddenly not feeling very well. I think I need to sit.
As Dr. Blackguard tried to sit, he nearly tumbled off the speaker's platform and had to be held down by his assistants.
We heard
Mayor
it. We heard it.
Later released a statement saying, Dr. Blackguard is fine. He simply hadn't eaten all day and is exhausted from the stress of the campaign.
Okay.
Great.
So Regis has a Hillary Clinton moment here.
It's Hillary Clinton, September 11th, 2016. I also wanted to say, this is Kurt Morse as the newsman. He appeared during the, I think, the election episode when Tom was running against Bart. This is a real guy. Kurt Morse is playing Kurt Morse, the evangelical radio broadcaster.
Oh, weird.
Who has been on Focus on the Family Radio. He's worked with like all kinds of different evangelical broadcasters. He's still around. He's like a strategist for nonprofits to like,
and their correspondent for small town Ohio mayoral politics.
That's so weird. So this is like when Pat Kiernan shows up in something set in New York in a movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically, I don't know why they didn't. Again, they had a different news guy for like 8 episodes, and now there's like 5 other news guys for these last 3. It doesn't make sense.
It's a high turnover rate in the media and Odyssey. That's a separate saga they get to later.
Well, the maze must feed.
The Electric Palace, which is the electronic shop that Bart Rathbone runs, it's been vandalized. And Bart also goes on the record to talk about what he thinks happened.
There's a gang running around town that wears long robes, like the kind they wore in the Bible. I saw a picture in it one time.
Just
Bible robes, you know.
I saw a picture in a Bible one time because I don't read it because I'm not a Christian.
I don't know, man.
That's a joke just for the Christians in the crowd.
It's
like
just,
they don't read their Bible. They're basically Catholics.
Right. Fair.
Is Bart like? Is there a conversion arc for Bart, or does he simply just disappear when the voice actor dies, and that's the last we hear of him?
He simply disappeared. He's the same voice actor as Tom Riley.
Yeah,
and so
Walker
both of them just disappear. Yeah.
Okay.
That's just so strange. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
once the 2010s roll around, they stop acknowledging death. It's very weird.
Huh. I mean, until Eugene, basically, right?
I don't think Eugene dies.
He just moves away
forever, I guess. Yeah. I haven't listened to those.
He enters the imagination station and never leaves again.
Yeah, but like Bernard,
he and Betsy Ross finally together at last.
Bernard is gone. When Jack and Joanne die, I think a couple years later, it's referenced that they're dead.
Okay.
But like, I don't think that, there's nothing about their death happening. They just kind of avoid all that stuff in the 2010s, which is strange.
It's a shame because well, actually, no, it's not a shame. I am proud of Bart for sticking it out.
Yeah.
And not converting.
Me too.
Bart is like one of my favorite
Christian
characters
town.
in this entire show. He is so much fun. The actor is great.
Yeah.
Just fantastic delivery. They also give him some of the only funny jokes.
There's a moment in here where, like, after he's done with that little bit that we just heard, he starts shilling for another sale.
Anything else you can tell us?
Nah. Except that starting tomorrow, we'll be having a slightly damaged merchandise sale.
Yes, well, thank you very much.
There'll be some great bargains, so everybody, come on down. Bring the whole family. Bring Mom, the kids. Bring money.
Well, there you have it. More vandalism and no clue.
The best piece is that you can hear like an audible sigh from the guy interviewing him. It's very funny. It's a rare understated bit of humor. But here's the thing about that vandalism, right? It's a false flag. And we learned that pretty quickly, that this is Jellyfish, doing a targeted hit, a false flag attack on the Electric Palace to make it look like the Israelites are out there destroying things. And this pisses Rodney the fuck off.
I've had it with you, man. I started the Bones of Wrath. I did, not you. I'll decide who will hit and who we won't. And I don't need no outsider to tell me how to run things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. Come on, Bones. Let's kick this jerk out of here and get things back to the way they were. Who's with me? Well, come on, you guys. Anybody? Rusty?
Rodney,
At 2.
Please, guys. Please, follow me.
Oh, give me a break. This is pathetic. Rodney, save yourself a little dignity.
Please.
Okay, don't.
That's a good
Be
line.
quiet and get lost.
Steve Burns, another MVP on this series.
Oh, yeah.
I felt so bad for Rodney here. Like, this actually, the only emotional response I had to any of this entire several episodes is just for Rodney. I was like, man, he just needs friends. He needs support. This poor guy, when he's just like, please. And I'm like, they're really drawing this out. I feel very bad for him. For a character I'm not supposed to find all that sympathetic.
Yeah.
Especially in the end where they're just like, nope, off to the cops for you.
Truly.
I'm like, he's having like a real crisis here. It's stupid as hell, but like, he seems to be one of the only people with anything actually at stake.
He has a meaningful identity and motivation. He's so wrapped up in the identity of this gang that defines who he is. And it's ripped away from him.
Yeah, and it is way more interesting than whatever the fuck Jack is up to.
Oh, yeah.
As far as just an actual personal crisis.
Hey, Jack is gardening.
Yeah.
All right? His azaleas are coming in strong this year. He is in contention to get a blue ribbon at the Odyssey Fair.
He's off having reveries where he speaks directly to God.
Yeah.
Visions of shit that happened already. God's like, oh, sorry, I forgot how to do prophecy for a bit. I'm supposed to tell you about shit that's going to happen, right?
Rodney is like, they could have like really done a very interesting Zuko arc for him, but it is truly like when he comes like back and it's like, hey, how about we like team up? They're like, fuck off with you. But it would be so much more interesting if they're like, hey, maybe we could merge these two things. Because we do actually need each other.
And he has an interesting motivation and a morally complex way of going about doing what he's doing, just like Richard. So he's interesting to watch for the rest of this series.
We are separating the wheat from chaff. Rodney and you are chaff as fuck.
And there's such specificity to the performance, too. I think about how when we did our episode with Devin, how like, even though Devin had never listened to a single fucking episode of the show before, either Adventures in Odyssey or What's Emma Summer, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. They immediately dialed into Rodney and did like a fucking pitch perfect impression because that specificity is so immediately accessible. Yeah. I mean, Devin is also very talented too, but like.
And this scene is a big deal because even the pirate betrays Rodney here.
Like, when I'm out at sea, I do hate the Portuguese man o' war. But the jellyfish, she stays deep below the water's surface. She becomes less of a nuisance for me unless she washes up on the beach. They're all girls, by the way. All jellyfish are girls.
The true god of the sea, the jellyfish, the true god of the sea. We must respect. We have to stand. The jellyfish.
Rodney, I think me often about when you brought me aboard your vessel. And I think now about a man who has brought me not only onto his vessel, but into his heart, a man known as Jellyfish.
Rodney, I'll be honest with you. I would have got along with you, but you wouldn't set any of your schemes near bodies of water. And Jellyfish needs a body of water to live. So,
Rodney,
hands are tied.
Rodney, he literally be called Jellyfish. I know not how to make this more simple or straightforward, Rodney.
So are these, so this would be a pirate that's sailing around the Great Lakes if this is Ohio?
Yes.
Yes. I was previously captain aboard the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Thank you. There it is.
I snuck Ulysses into the States for the first time from Canada in the early 1900s.
This is a real thing that happened in history.
Rodney.
Have you heard of James Joyce, Rodney?
Rodney, when ye tell me about ye friend Lawrence, I think of the St. Lawrence River, and me times on the St. Lawrence River, and the The many bodies that rest at the bottom of her icy depths, Rodney.
We had lots of funs at Finnegan's Wake, don't we, folks? What else? What else is in the news? What's going on? Hold on. I'm getting my light. It seems though it's my time.
Away alone, alas, loved along out of the river run, past even Adams from Swerve ashore to Bend of Bay.
Bend of Bay
Brings us a commodious vicus of recirculation
back to Howth Castle and environs.
Rodney, me wife, she loved to fart in me face, Rodney. Okay, so let's pull it back.
Eugene visits James Joyce
there we go.
in Ireland
there we go.
to have his wife fart on his face.
Here's what Eugene says when he meets Nora Barnacle, the wife of James Joyce.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Brian.
Those are not hooves. That's just a very deep and strange fart.
Sure.
Is anyone in the audience going to understand why we're making jokes about James Joyce? And
if they don't, they can look it up. Fuck it. Okay. So that should be the slogan for this show.
I could not resist her. Her name was Nora Barnacle. She latched right onto me.
Yes. So
she sucked like a barnacle.
We now have had Rodney's big meltdown, right? And the gang is mutinied. He's no longer in control.
Yeah.
And Rusty then tempts Rodney with a proposition for revenge because Rusty is also not too happy with Jellyfish, right?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, what if we figured out a way to swipe Jellyfish's computer? Because Jellyfish, well, he's got a laptop. This is what it sounds like when he's using it.
It's time to do a little updating on the old laptop computer.
Jellyfish.
That's what I say every time I go to Twitter.
Absolutely.
Jellyfish sees that little text box pop up in the bottom right corner, the little speech bubble. He's like, hell yes, updates. Fuck yeah. I love cybersecurity so fucking much.
That's going to be sort of the big MacGuffin here, right? Is Jellyfish's laptop.
Yeah.
And
he has this laptop that he keeps like a full documentation of all of his crimes on. Because he's doing a little thing called CYB, called Cover Your Base. I don't know why he does the acronym, but he does. So he's
sure.
But the whole thing is just like so that he can blackmail whoever his boss is.
This is the thing with blackmail in case I need it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the laptop is not encrypted.
Nor is it password protected, nor is it anything.
Yeah. We'll get back to this laptop later, but just keep that in the back of your head. The other big piece going on here is that Rodney, again, now having the motivation of going and swiping that computer, goes and meets up with Richard. And Richard and Rodney have a chat. They both realize that they have Jellyfish as a common enemy, and they actually head over to Whit's End together to attempt to swipe that laptop.
Whit's End? Jellyfish is here?
Yeah, and not only him.
Who else?
You'll see once we get inside.
Yeah, sure. And just how are we going to do that?
Well, there's a service entrance around the back that leads to the kitchen. Hardly anyone knows about it.
How do you know about it?
You kidding? I've crawled all over this building.
Call back. We got a call back, folks.
So wait, so it's like, no one's ever walked around the back of this place. No one knows about the fucking back door here.
That's just what happened to Jimmy. He's just actually been on a smoke break back there and still collecting paychecks.
Time.
He's like Milton from Office Space.
I'd imagine it's just, it feels like it's like a backdrop back there. Like they walk back, it's like, wait a minute. They just push it over and there's just like an endless sea of desert. Oh no!
So Richard and Rodney get in through that back entrance. They start snooping, and boy, hope you like details about computers, folks.
Are you certain you're feeling all right, sir? You look
They're
pale.
overhearing this through the
Glossman?
window.
Of course I'm feeling all right. My fainting spell was an act for the press. You know that.
Like Julius Caesar.
Wretched machine.
What is it, Professor? What's wrong?
It's this laptop computer. It doesn't have enough disk space for me to complete my calculations.
Well, that's
Hate it when
no
that happens.
problem. Jellyfish?
Yeah.
Where's that laptop computer I gave you?
It's right here in my backpack. Why?
The professor's computer needs more disk space. We're going to link your laptop to his.
Link it? Well, hey, we ain't got no cord.
We don't need one. These laptops have infrared ports. All we need do is point them at each other.
Excellent. Give me your computer, please.
Well,
So they can use it as
I don't
one
have that much
big
disk
computer.
space left either.
We can download your data onto some floppy disks.
Why can't you do it with your own data?
Yes, you won't lose any of your data.
It will all be perfectly safe.
I need more details.
So, Adventures in Odyssey in 1995 predicts the Game Boy Color.
It's true.
The Pokemon mystery gift.
Yeah, Street Pass.
Do you think that somebody at Game Freak was listening to this and threw down their Game Boy and went, "They beat us"?
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yes.
This is simply not a conflict that requires this many moving parts and schemes.
No.
But Josh or Scott, I think either of you could remember this, but of course, Josh, you were Mr. Computer. That was your last name before it got changed to Borman at Ellis Island to sound less ethnic.
Right.
Yeah. Means the same thing, though, actually.
Yeah,
For me.
yeah.
It means Mr. Computer.
Means farmer either way. Computer actually means farmer. But yeah.
Yeah.
Infrared data transfer. Did this exist at all in the mid-90s?
I literally Googled this to make sure it existed at all. Yes, it does. No idea if it actually existed back then.
Because, you could, like, this. They're just describing Game Boys here. You could use the link cable or the infrared, and it didn't work because the back of the Game Boys had a little bulbous thing at the bottom, so you couldn't get them to point directly at each other properly. So you just had to kind of stick them next to each other, and then you could have just had some sort of contact thing instead. Anyway.
Okay, so I did want to look this up a little bit because I remember IR. Generally speaking, the applications for it would be, Game Boy, obviously. Yeah. I also remember that a lot of PDAs had it. So that you could point a PDA at a little IR receiver on a laptop and sync information that way. This would not be used for like high volume data transfer, though. Yeah. This would be used for sync, right? Sync purposes. By that, I mean SYNC. And the other piece, too, is that I'm seeing here that the Infrared Data Association.
There's an association?
Well, this is how standards often develop.
The IDA.
Right? Like, for instance, USB was built by a consortium. And so what happens is you get different companies that put these standards together.
Right.
But standards will fail often because they just aren't as useful. And so that was why, for instance, FireWire didn't stick around for very long after USB could process stuff faster. Similarly, I think infrared seemed like it was going to be useful because it's like, hey, you don't need a cable.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it pretty much everything that would be useful about it is superseded very quickly when you move into the world of efficient data transfer with fast cables.
Yeah. And infrared, you can't, it's not like it goes through walls. You can't do it remotely.
You
You still have to be right there.
They have to be right next to each other.
Yeah, how good is infrared at transferring nude photos of Hunter Biden?
Really good.
Great.
Yeah. Really good. Really good. Yeah.
Only if they're JPEGs or GIFs.
What would the GIF be?
Well, GIFs sometimes don't have to move. It's just a graphics interchange format, you know. But don't ever try this with a TIFF or a WebP.
Don't you dare.
Don't fucking do it.
Try that in a small town.
Yeah,
it'll flash out the name of God if you put a camera in there.
That is something you only do on ultraviolet frequencies.
Jehovah.
The plot of Pi just starts happening to you.
So Richard and Rodney, they basically get seized here. We missed a great opportunity here for a seize him from Blackguard. I wanted to seize him and we didn't get one. That's real bummer.
As a Fae villain.
Yeah.
A Fae deep voice villain, we really needed to seize him.
We might have one from Earl Bowen in like the Imagination Station, but
I think so. I think maybe as a Centurion he says seize him, but we don't get a seize him. We get a grab him, which is fine.
Yeah.
Blackguard also has a stun gun, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody got stun guns.
Well, it's like I was listening to this. I was like, yeah, well, they needed something that wasn't an actual gun.
Right.
But was, that was sort of like a Batman-ish, sort of like, this won't kill you, but I still get to basically act like I'm killing people.
Yeah, they should have just had the Batman sleeping gas.
Everyone's shooting each other with tranq darts the entire time.
Anyway, Rodney gets away, but Maxwell gets properly seized. And they put him in a car, which from the audio sounds like, first of all, Jellyfish is going to fucking kill him once they get to the destination.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not excited that we're going to get into some real life or death like shenanigans here.
Well, okay,
This is
that's
very-
the thing is that they've had murder before because Pinky, way back in the day, did murder somebody on behalf of Regis Blackguard. So, like, that's in
And
the
there
air.
is automotive-based murder in the Novacom saga. There's a lot of running people off the road, which is very Frank Peretti coded from what we know of This Present Darkness. Everyone just gets run off the road.
Angels knocking trucks off, vans off the road, or keeping them on, pushing them, etc.
I forgot.
That's mostly
about
what
that.
angels do. So that Amy Grant song's about.
But it's not the one you'd think. It's actually Hats.
Oh, okay.
That's just for me. You can cut
The first song off of side B of Heart in Motion.
That's literally
that is an
just
album
for me.
that I unfortunately have completely memorized. Where I'm like, oh yes, Hats, of course.
wait,
not the song Galileo or whatever the other B sides are from that.
You know what? Keep it in. Fuck it.
No, this is all staying.
But
Gold.
Back to the car, right? This car is moving at fucking speed. It sounds like they're on the
a
highway.
mountain?
They're booking it.
On one of the famous mountains of Ohio.
I just pictured them on the fucking turnpike. But anyway, this happens.
Having a good time, Myron?
Not as good a time as I'm gonna have.
Mind if I give you a piece of advice?
Why not?
When you're doing something like this, make sure you
Lock the door. What?
See ya!
He jumped out.
Stop the car! Stop the car!
I don't see him. Where'd he go?
He must have rolled down the embankment.
Embankment? That's more like a cliff.
I remember this scene so vividly
Me
from my
too.
childhood.
Me too.
Lock the door.
It's there's no possible way to tell that sequence of events any better than how they did it.
Definitely
Like,
not.
the whole he jumped out kind of like line. I just busted out laughing because I'm like, sound effects. You could have just done this where he's like, "See ya," and then you hear or something like that. You could have just done that, and then
you could have
where'd he
had
go?
this.
You could have had that.
Yeah. That's him tumbling down the road at like 75 miles an hour.
I'm just picturing that scene in Hot Rod, right? Where he... Yeah.
It's nice that Maxwell gets his own Springfield Gorge moment where he's...
And they look down and they see his like limp, lifeless body.
Yes. And they're like, we can't stick around because people will see us at the side of the road. We just got to keep going. They assume he's dead.
It would have been extremely funny if he was dead. That was just the end of his character. And Chris is like, oh no.
Yeah, Chris is really worried.
I sure hope Richard will be all right and that Jason will get a look at Jellyfish's laptop computer.
So good.
They could just say laptop or computer, but they have to say both. It's like me with soda pop.
I like how like Chris basically pops up to go, still with us? Just remember,
Are you
what's actually happening?
Well, I mean, it's also just the fact that like they're equating stakes here, right? It's that is Richard Maxwell dead is on the same thematic weight as will they get to look at this computer maybe?
Richard Maxwell, who has thrown himself out of a car that is traveling bare minimum 55 miles an hour.
And he fell off of a cliff.
It's an embankment. No, it's a fucking cliff. God damn it.
Yeah, they double down on it.
Do not yes and me, Bovril.
I'm glad that they kept that in. They're just like, well, we need to have someone mistake it for an embankment first, or else we're just not going to be painting. The theater of the mind is going to suffer.
I just wanted to bring up the discussion questions here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, please.
Why didn't any of the Bones of Wrath stand up for Rodney against Jellyfish?
Because of the pirate.
Okay.
The pirate convinced them all that they needed to mutiny.
Correct. You get a
Which actually, that I didn't even connect that. Of course it was the pirate who helped them pull off the mutiny.
Yeah. Why do you think Rodney and the Bones were having so many problems with their leadership?
Because they couldn't stop kissing.
I once again blame the pirate, but
there's a book or an essay called The Tyranny of Structurelessness.
Okay. Go on.
I think that's what happened to the basically it's like, in unstructured, more horizontal, non-hierarchical organizations. Oftentimes people who either naturally or some other way have some sort of advantage. They either have more time or more resources to bring to bear, or they are just, personally, they can be in charge and all that and stuff. They just sort of end up gravitating in that sort of direction. I think that's what's happened.
Yeah.
Right. And so because there is no clear hierarchy or real reason to get a deliverable out, things just stagnate.
Yeah.
I know this is a big problem at Valve. is like, unless Gabe Newell is like, you need to do this, they don't fucking ship anything.
Yeah. The Bones of Wrath are always doing the human megaphone too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they all hold up their hands and they all repeat every single
Mic
line all the way
check.
down the crowd. Yeah. So Scott, you get a check plus. Josh, you get a check. AJ, you get a check minus. Sorry.
Oh,
it's all right.
Well, you're saying that there's the kissing played no
Kissing
part in this?
played some part in this. That's why you get a check minus.
Oh, nice.
You don't get a zero.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
look, this is as good of a time as any to take us right through into the next episode here, right? This is episode 333, The Last Resort. Once
well,
again,
actually,
written
I think AJ has a way to lead us into the last resort.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we promised earlier that perhaps we'd hear some of that fan fiction.
Yeah, on the subject of kissing.
On the subject of kissing.
Wait, what are you pulling? You can't just pull these things out on me. Like
And so this is written by a fan of ours, and I know this because they sent it to us. And also, the note on AO3 reads, "The worst of all possible worlds podcast dared me to write this."
I don't know.
So
that maybe. I can see how that could lean us in the direction circumstantially.
That could have been any worst of all possible worlds podcast.
For sure. That's true. But this is called Connie's Special Bible by NKI. The summary of it is Connie and Katrina share a very special moment in Bible study. And I actually thought it might be fun, Scott, if you could read.
Katrina arrived at Connie's house. She knew the door would be unlocked and let herself in. She looked around the room to see Connie alone on the couch. "Am I early?" asked Katrina. "I expected more people to show up?" ? "Oh, sorry about that," said Connie. "I should have been more clear with you that I intended this to be a private study session." "Why did you want this to be private?" asked Katrina, sitting down next to Connie. "I'm not exactly shy in a crowd."
The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? You think you see the sun, but you ain't seen it shine. Wait till my God is here again. Wait till the Christ is come. Wait till the rock is...
Where am I?
Well, look who's finally up. Good morning, sleepyhead. Somebody took quite the tumble there.
What's going on? What is this place?
Why, this is a kitchen, friend. Must have hit your head harder than I thought. Breakfast? I made some oatmeal for us. Old family recipe. Well, not my family's, but...
What did you do with my friends?
They're safe and sound. Cross my heart and all the rest. Apologies for the chains, by the way. Some people have a more violent reaction to the gas than others. Here, let me just... There we go. As the French say, bon appetit. Well, Mr. Ligorium, if I wanted to kill you, don't you think I would have found a better way than poisoning some gosh darn oatmeal? Go on, eat. You're practically skin and bones.
Is this?
Apple cinnamon oatmeal with brown sugar on top. Just the way your mother used to make, if I'm not mistaken.
How did you...
Oh, I know lots of things about you, Mr. Ligorium. About everybody who lives in Odyssey. In fact, I make it my business to know. Which is how I knew you'd be bumbling your way to my doorstep this morning. But I did not expect you to make such an entrance, kaboomy, trying to blow up the darn maze. I got to applaud the enthusiasm, I really do.
You knew we were coming?
Of course I did. In fact, you could say I was sort of counting on you paying me a visit. You see, I wanted to show you what I've been up to. All the wondrous things I've been cooking up down here.
Like those clones of yourself and all those tanks?
Well, I was going to say the oatmeal, but yes, those two. You see, Mr. Ligorium, the world up there, it's changing awfully fast, isn't it? bewildering to me at times. Just when you think you've got your feet underneath you, some new crisis or catastrophe looms its ugly head and you're blown off course, lost to the winds of calamity, confused, afraid, and alone. But in here, things never have to change. There's no catastrophe, no chaos, no death, no disease, just apple cinnamon oatmeal with brown sugar on top, just the way your mother used to make it. Forever.
But what if I don't want oatmeal forever?
Oh, you will. Eventually. You see, people can't resist the siren song of comfort. All we have to do is play it loud enough for them to hear. But I can't do it alone. And that, my doubting Thomas, is where you come in.
Me?
At the heart of this maze, you see, lies a book. A tome, if you will, of unimaginable power. All you see here was made possible by just being near the dang thing. Imagine what we could achieve if we could only get our hands on the real McCoy. But this maze, it has a nasty habit of changing whenever I or my other selves get too close. But you, well, the maze seems to have taken a liking to you.
It tried to kill us.
But it also brought you here, to my little subterranean home away from home. So the way I figure it, you might just have a shot. You could get to the center of the maze, grab the book, and bring it back here to me.
And why would I ever do that?
I told you. People can't resist the siren song of comfort. Not even you, Mr. Ligorium. See, I've been watching you for some time. And if there's one truth about you, one recurring motif, it's that you, Lorne Ligorium, are afraid.
Afraid? Afraid of what?
Everything. Anything. Constantly on edge, turning yourself into knots. The smallest setback sending you into a tailspin of anxious agony. And why shouldn't you be scared? The world's spinning madly out of your control. We're approaching the new millennium, for goodness sake. People are out there saying it's the end of history. The end of days is upon us, Mr. Ligorium. You feel it in your bones. You see it every time you close your eyes. Fire and torment unending. But if we use this magnificent machine of mine, this imagination station, crank up its power tenfold using the power of that dusty old book and have it envelop the world in its light. Well, sir, when you close your eyes, I guarantee all you'll see is nothing, because we will finally be in paradise. And in paradise, there's nothing to be afraid of anymore, because we'll be in control. Everyone under the watchful eye of our one true and mighty God. Amen.
You mean you? Under the watchful eye of you.
God works through me, Mr. Ligorium. He can work through you too. All you have to do is give in to his will.
I've seen your God. I've seen what he can do. And he's a monster. Just like you.
Such a shame. I had such high hopes for you, Lorne Ligorium. But we all fall short in the eyes of God. So I suppose we shall leave it up to him.
What are you doing? Hey, let me go!
King Darius threw Daniel into the lion's den, and God sent an angel to stop their mouths from tearing him asunder.
No!
So I'd start praying he'll do the same for you.
Oh, my leg! Whitaker! Where are my friends? Whitaker! Is someone there? Hello? Oh, peaches and cream. Is that an actual lion? And why does it have Braces?
I told you your friends were safe and sound. I made sure of it.
Oh my God. Lawrence?
He said he'd show me my friends. He'd turn them all into animals to teach them a lesson, he said. And then he taught me a lesson too. It's all so clear to me now. We can't win. He's too powerful. We never stood a chance.
Supper time, little Lawrence. Show Mr. Ligorium what happens when he defies the will of God.
Lawrence, please. You don't want to do this.
Don't worry, Warren. You're going to see God soon. And I'm going to be the one who sends you to him.
Somebody help! Somebody, please!
I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel and King. How'd you get in here? Let go of me, you monster!
That's quite enough, Whitaker.
You leave our gangly boy alone! Pinky! Jerry! You're alive!
How did you escape your containment pods?
You think those flimsy-whimsy chains can hold Pinky? I took a patisserie class in Paris! I am invincible!
Well, let's put that to the test, shall we? Lawrence, kill these blasphemers.
I will deal with the kitten version of our friend. You deal with the clone man. Have at you, kitty friend!
Wouldn't want to meet Mr. Taser now, would you? Oh, fudge whipple. Hey now. You wouldn't want to hurt a good Christian man, would you?
You are no good man. You are a monster, just like us.
That face, that's not Jerry.
Hi, Dad.
Jerry, you made it out of the room of consequence.
We learned our lesson well, and now we think you have to learn one too.
You don't want to kill me, Jerry. I love you. God loves you. He wouldn't want this for you.
We will not kill you, Dad. We only ask that you abandon these ambitions of yours. Walk away. Leave this place forever, and maybe, just maybe, we can try to be your family again. Please.
Oh, my dear, sweet, lost lamb. Your dad died a long time ago. I'm all that's left.
Jerry, no!
May God forgive you and grant you peace.
I was getting so tired of his lip flapping. Are you both alright? Yeah, I think so. You okay, Jerry?
We are intact.
And Lawrence? Sleeping like a baby. An unconscious baby that I hit with a pipe. We gotta get out of here. Find that book and end this thing once and for all. Why does nothing I hit stay unconscious?
You can't stop me. Or I suppose, more to the point, you can't stop us. Well, hi there.
Tippecanoe and Tyler, too.
That is a lot of Whitakers.
What are we gonna do? They're blocking the exits. It appears as though it is Pinky's time to shine. Go! Pinky, we ain't leaving ya. I have used my fists to hurt so many people, to cause such pain in this world. But now I can use those same fists to hurt one specific man over and over and over again. And maybe in so doing, makes the world a little bit better. Pinky. Trust me, my puny friend. If it bleeds, I can kill it. Go, make your escape.
On to our backs, Lord Ligorium.
Be safe, Pinky. I'll see you on the other side. Hasta la vista, Lord Ligorium. All right, Whitaker. Remember when I said I'd kill you last? I lied, because I'm going to kill you all simultaneously. Pinky!
Their lips locked together as they got on their sides on the soft carpet. Each girl offered a hand to finger fuck the other's pussy gently. They lay like this, tongues and fingers writhing inside each other for several minutes until they both shouted God's name together. Sorry.
Amen, baby! Wow, what a work. And I'm so glad, Scott, that you read that in its entirety.
Yeah, I'm glad we did that instead of having a break.
Yeah. Did you like the voices?
Loved it.
Oh,
okay.
Very much
You
so.
differentiated between them so well, I thought. Between Connie and Katrina.
Yeah.
I had kind of a crush on Connie when I was a kid, just her voice and everything, so I've internalized it.
Would it surprise you to learn that I was more of a Katrina type?
No. The least surprising thing I've ever heard. Well, actually, no. Second least surprising thing. The first one was that we could not get a sponsor for this episode. They took one look at it and went, nah, not for us.
They were like, really? A Charlie Kaufman riff? Hasn't it been done?
So we're back. We're here now talking about episode...
I am thinking about ending things.
333. No, don't. Episode 333, The Last Resort, once again written by Lawler and McCusker. This one originally aired on September 30 of 1995, and this one starts off with Jack, who's been largely absent from the past couple episodes. Jack Allen is back, and he's hanging out at the hospital because Richard Maxwell, they managed to pick him up in an ambulance, I'm assuming. I'm kind of surprised they didn't enumerate how this all happened because so many of these things are overwrought in that unnecessary way.
Yeah.
But Richard's in the ICU, and Jason is also at the hospital, and he runs across Rodney.
Then we'll have Billy tell them to... Well, look who's here.
Sorry, wrong elevator.
No, you don't. Come on in, Rodney.
Get his ass.
That's assault.
Hey, let go. Cut it out.
Push the button, Eugene.
Jason, what are you doing?
Just push the button. Top floor.
You insist.
Leave me alone.
Accessory.
I didn't do nothing. Oh!
Just
yeah?
dangling
Richard
him over
Maxwell's
a railing.
upstairs looking like you did do something.
Let go. You're an adult. You can't do this to me.
Correct.
Eugene, you're
Correct.
a witness.
Witness to what?
Now you listen to me.
Whoa!
You've gone over the line this time, and one way or another, you can be absolutely certain you're going down for this. You and the Bones are going to jail. Stop the elevator, Eugene.
Yes, sir.
False
Also a
imprisonment.
crime. Yep.
This is kidnapping now.
Yep. You're going to child jail. Gonna be downright Dickensian in there.
So they stop the elevator. They have now committed numerous crimes.
Yes.
And Rodney immediately squeals about jellyfish, about the laptop, about the car, the whole thing.
He has no reason not to squeal.
Right.
You know, no one's in his corner anymore. Rusty Gordon is gone, also forever. That is a series wrap on Rusty.
Let's hear it for Rusty. Let's hear it for Rusty.
Rusty and Butch are both gone and will never return to the show.
And so Jason goes for a drive with Eugene to sort of like dig in a little bit now to what the plan ought to be. And the first thing they talk about is how they really need to get those materials. All of those incriminatory details, right? They got to get them off the laptop.
I'll give him credit for one thing, though. He sure knows how to keep himself covered.
Meaning?
The files he was manipulating had names like Edgebiter and Bones of Wrath. I guess he has a pretty good record of what's been going on, just in case things don't work out with Black.
Edgebiter? As in the Edgebiter Company? As in the Edgebiter Company that has led to the scandal that has led to Tom Riley's recall as mayor?
Yes, thank you,
But
Eugene.
the point is, Richard Maxwell had pretty good reasons for wanting to get a hold of that laptop.
Manipulating files, I imagine, is just Jellyfish idly clicking on like the icons for them and dragging them around the desktop.
Yeah.
He's doing that. He's doing that, and he's saying this.
It's time to do a little updating on the old laptop computer.
He doesn't know what updating is.
That's also what he says when he's trying to run Max Payne on a modern day laptop.
Yes, true.
Damn you,
That motherfucker
Sam Lake.
doesn't know how to activate compatibility mode for the life of him. You like,
what are these textures?
How do I go into the properties? That's not what he sounds like at all.
No, neither of you are doing Jellyfish's voice. It's quite deep.
Oh, what's going on here? Open the laptop.
All right.
Why does he keep talking about a
I
hole?
remember my first time in Odyssey. The streets were paved with the blood of the prostitutes that built the town. I don't know.
What?
I mean,
Built Odyssey?
That's kind of canonical, right?
That's what happened in the
There were
history
sex
episodes,
workers.
right?
Yeah, that was in the history episodes.
Okay.
I remember. I paid attention.
We did not include those clips as part of the episode. But yeah, there's this like 5-minute sidebar about like, and Eugene's like, sex work is legitimate work. And it's like, it's a whole... It's a surprise.
Isn't that right, Betsy Ross?
It's a surprisingly woke take from Phil Lawler.
As
and
a matter of
it's the
fact,
one
you would see
thing-
that many gender constructs were in fact subverted by the settlers as they made their way west. And here you would see many in fact, people who were assigned female at birth identifying as males. That's just a true fact about Westward Expansion.
Well, I feel like, yeah.
Oh boy, I think I might be non-binary. That's right, Rodney. Probably.
Join the club.
We welcome ye into the queer community, Rodney.
Our flag really does mean death.
We need to talk about bisexual erasure.
He was?
After that whole sort of like thing about the laptop, we get technical details for how they're going to do it.
In the meantime, we have to figure out how to get our hands on that laptop.
I'm sure you're aware of the myriad problems inherent in that desire.
I know, Eugene.
Also,
Thanks,
it will do us
Eugene.
no good to merely see the information. For it to be truly useful, we must have a copy of it.
I know, Eugene.
But unless you have the exact name of the file you're looking for, which we don't, you'll have to copy the entire hard drive, an often prohibitively long process.
We won't have to copy the hard
Megabytes
drive.
of data.
How can we avoid it?
The laptop has an infrared data port.
Really? Only the latest models are so equipped.
Oh my God!
Josh made me grab all of these.
It's so
and
funny.
transmitted to a receiver by high-frequency radio waves.
Indeed.
Radio waves?
How you acquired such a device?
No, you may not.
Oh.
Let's just say I'm very well connected.
Well, obviously. And can your connections protect us from the legal ramifications of such actions? Tapping into another's computer sans permission is against the law, you know.
The NSA would never do that.
You are well connected. Have we sufficient grounds?
Well, how about suspicion of fraud?
Oh my
conspiracy,
God!
malice, racketeering, domestic terrorism.
That's a good start.
Domestic terrorism, fucking Patriot Act coming in the game.
That's right.
So they have to prove that what they're doing is okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That like
Right.
the good behavior that the show espouses, also like can happen if you're doing it for the good intention of like spreading the word of Jesus and starting the word of Christ.
There's multiple episodes that are basically like, well, obeying the laws of man as if they were God's laws. Like that is like a big thing.
Yes, the most important one of these is when Connie becomes valedictorian when she graduates high school. Yeah, spoilers, AJ. And the whole message of that episode is like, yeah, if you're told not to pray at graduation, well, those authorities were placed there by Gad. So don't do it. Yes.
You were just following orders.
Yeah, we'll get to that episode at some point because it is fascinating to me.
It's just so funny, though, like, again, this level of detail, right? I wanted you to pull these in their entirety, Brian, because I suffered, therefore so must
Well, also,
our
I wanted
audience
to
suffer.
grab them. Like, you were messaging me about the first one. I was like, I literally just grabbed it.
It's fucking hilarious. Like, I was half expecting him to go into a sidebar about, like, FISA warrants and how, like, you know, well, Eugene, as you may know, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court was established in 1978 under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. These special warrants...
This just becomes a scene from Deus Ex.
Right?
The Five
I'm sorry,
Eyes
but have you mentioned
with you.
ESA? The European Security Association is also pertinent to this, I guess.
Did Wi-Fi exist in mid-90s, Josh? Was that like, I mean, obviously it wasn't widespread. I certainly did not experience Wi-Fi in the 90s, but.
So the 802.11 standard, it should be noted, 802.11 is why infrared never, that's actually more important, like the advent of USB and FireWire, in terms of why IR just was obviated. Like, it's much easier to send something over the air, which can also go through walls, or Bluetooth, than to position two infrared transmitters against each other.
Yeah, but this is radio waves.
The base version of the 802.11 standard was released in 97, whereas this episode was 95. So there was a couple years there, and I remember this with computers too, that pretty much everything, I'm just going full on. I do remember that there was a brief period of time, and this is accurate, that all like mid-end and upward laptops did have IR on them because of the fact that, although Ethernet existed, it was a little unwieldy. And 802.11 was first presented as a standard in 97, and it took a few years before any Wi-Fi routers or whatever to even become available.
So this is, was there some sort of protocol for sending data over radio waves the way that they're doing? I mean, obviously this would be completely insecure.
Well, IR isn't radio. It's light.
but because what they're doing here is they're using a device that will pick up the signal with transmitter, IR and then transmit over the radio frequencies.
I mean, probably, right? Like,
obviously, you're not going to have a lot of malicious actors picking up your radio signal at this point in time, so you could do it, and then there's just going to be like some guy masturbating on his ham setup, going to town on his hog on his ham.
Yeah. And in terms of like wireless standards that were available like to regular ass consumers, 802.11 was the first sort of big one. So this actually might be like actual honest to goodness cutting edge science fiction at this point.
So there's also a little bit of computer decrypting going on because the Imagination Station got busted into before it could shut down properly, and we didn't find out what the priest was referring to. And Eugene and Richard have gone line by line through the code and have found that whatever was the salve was made out of was something called the Silent One.
Yes.
And then the other name, the so-called Indian name for it, is indecipherable still.
This is such a stupid plot point, just like the Silent One. And I was like, oh, what are they going to do with it? No.
Right? Yeah, no, it's such a cool name that also sounds like a fart.
Yes.
And that's what it ends up being.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It really, it's like, it's nothing. All of this potential for a thing called the Silent One, because like, oh, okay, so it has healing properties, but also might be like weaponized. Like, that's so cool. No, we have so many other things to get to, like
forgiveness.
I guess
it's such like needless specificity. There's so much needless specificity through all this. It's like because like when they say like, oh, the Silent One, I'm like, okay, well, that's a big proper noun. So we're gonna do something with this.
Yeah, you can almost hear the capital S, capital O in your head when they say Silent One, right?
Yeah. But it's similar to the computer thing where it's just like okay, we need to load it down with detail because that's going to somehow give us texture and stakes and like all these and weight and all that. And it's just like, as a lot of people have discovered since, you can't actually just like list Wikipedias in your fiction and have that, work.
They
like,
didn't even have Wikipedia back then.
Somehow Palpatine returned. But there is something too that's like, you're exactly right, Scott. Like this whole show feels like it was written by the writers of the wiki. Like, what if the fans of the show who are just really into the details then ended up writing the episodes, and they're never good. I mean, that's why Rise of Skywalker sucks, but that's also why Odyssey sucks. Like, they're part of the same core instinct. Yeah, and shared universe. Look, long time ago, galaxy far, far away. They could, theoretically.
Well, I wanted to pull us back to a really good example of that, like, excessive detail. Because we get a scene here with Regis Blackguard's professor, right? He has this professor under his thumb who just does research for him.
Professor Bovril.
He's a geologist, I guess.
Yeah.
He has this scene where he sort of talks about the mineral and all of its cool possibilities.
Let me see if I understand you correctly, Professor Bovril. You're saying that the uses of this mineral go far beyond my application.
I'm saying your application doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. I have inserted the mineral's chemical structure into more than 30 different formulae previously thought untenable.
That's me typing.
Based on the computer, they all work. We will have to conduct tests in the laboratory to make certain, but this mineral may very well be the most incredible discovery of the past 100 years.
Dude.
Wonderful.
So
I do love that Bovril has like a cocaine sniff.
Yeah.
He does.
But yeah, the mineral is unobtainium, right? It's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But again, then there becomes this unnecessary specificity that ends up confusing the stakes of the story.
Yeah.
There's a way, like, I would actually, no, I wouldn't. This would be horrible, but I would. I think it would be an interesting writing challenge to just take the basic outlines of this whole series and go, can you make this good and boil it down to like 3 episodes or whatever? Because when we're getting to this point, I'm like, so we were just talking about vandalism with kids. And they were at the bowling alley because they joined the bowling alley because of wholesomeness. Like, why was that in there? Like, who cares? Why did they join a bowling league? What was the point of this?
They weren't even at the bowling alley. They were trashing Whit's End. It's like, why are they in 3 places?
Why waste time on this? Yeah, this isn't even a fun detail.
The other piece here, and I wanted to pull you in for this, AJ, is that we had been talking a little bit before we rolled about how this actually makes Blackguard's plan a lot more confusing. Because what is he actually supposed to be doing with this stuff at this point? Why does he want it so bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's truly like, well, first of all, I can answer the bowling alley question thing, I think. And it's that they bought a pack of sound effects for a bowling alley. And we're just like, well, that'd be fun. Throw that in there.
They
Look,
did it as a trade deal with Microprose. They sent Microprose the gun sound effect for XCOM. And Microprose is like, hey, we sampled some shit in a bowling alley.
Okay,
How
I
about you
just
have
want to
that in
be
exchange?
very fair to focus on the family. Their engineers, they have a lot of in-house sound. They have a ton of in-house sound, and I could definitely see the bowling alley as being in-house sound.
I could see the bowling alley as being in-house. We don't know what's in that fucking compound.
Yeah.
Focus on the Family generated a lot of their own sound effects, but it's all beating children. Unfortunately.
Well, it's amazing.
You just get like the sound files from it, and it's like child beaten with belt.
Yeah. It's like parentheses elephant, and you like if you play it and you just crop it a little bit, it does sound like an elephant. You know, same thing with the bowling ball hitting the pins. That's just a bunch of children's femurs breaking.
Right.
Oh, so it's like a sound experiment where we did the entire thing with only sounds recorded at yada, 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 except for this is just the mutilation and beating of children.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just one that says jar of teeth.
Yeah.
I don't want to click on that one.
That's like those old like Soviet Georgian cartoons, and it's all just like mouth noises for the sound effects.
And look, I can't throw stones in this glass house. I found sound effects that I've built things around before. You can't throw a kid through it.
For discipline's sake. Okay?
And they have,
but only for discipline's sake, allegedly. But so in terms of Blackguard's like whole plan, his whole deal for this, right? The idea is that this stuff can make him a kingmaker. That's sort of what the mineral is for. Yeah. And that's his main initial
plan. It's the same
is
thing
to
with
get
applesauce, right? We heard him on the phone like talking to Muammar Gaddafi or whoever about like buying applesauce from him.
Right. And those are like his big world domination plans is what makes him a supervillain, right? But the thing about this whole arc is that this last penultimate episode changes his entire motivation because he receives the bad news that he gets at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So the plan, like, this is my pet peeve about it because fucking Moriarty, right?
Yeah.
Napoleon of crime, who Blackguard is so clearly based on in so many ways. He has a clockwork plan. He builds, I don't know, perhaps an intro out of a bunch of, I don't know, parts and
like an immersive experience.
An immersive experience, one might say, with some sort of wrench that's also something else. I don't know.
Combined with a couple of other tools. Yeah.
A couple other tools in one. But like in the Sherlock stories, they just play out exactly as he is. It's like, that's my whole plan. And at the end, they go over Reichenbach Falls together, right? And in this one, he has a master plan that gets kind of derailed at the end. So then he changes force. And I think it's just stronger if you want to like have a good versus just pure evil thing, right? To have him just have one plan and stick to it throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I had kind of like written down throughout, this is why I think actually the Eugene episode is the purest distillation of like appropriate stakes for Odyssey. Because one of the reasons that this I think there's actually some effective kind of action radio drama in the next like episode or so, just in the sense of how quick it goes and all that. But like, it is the scale of the conflict mismatch here of like Odyssey is primarily about a bunch of small town yokels. I'm allowed to say that as a small town yokel.
Yeah.
And then about how like each of their little things like, oh, I did a paper route, but I cheated and paid someone else to do it for less money, whatever.
Lawn mowing company, Scott. Lawn mowing company.
Yeah, there you go. And then Whit comes on and goes, well, actually, this has cosmic significance because every time you sin, you drive the nails anew into the wrist of Christ. And then Chris goes, that's right. At the end or something. And so this show is all about taking something small and like bringing the ages to it. You know, it's like, no, this is in fact, I think we actually talked about this on the Castle and Cauldrons episode because we were talking about the whole like, did you kiss a non-Christian? That is as big as anything in the universe because it's all, you know, righteousness versus sin versus all these other things. Like it's all comes back to the same story. So when you do that, but then you throw in, oh yeah, he could poison the world with this. And there are like, and there's espionage, there's life and death sorts of things. It intrudes a little bit on that. And it does make all the stakes of everything else. It's like, you know, Connie and you know, Bernard or whatever, like Eugene and Bernard are like, you know, sniping at each other again or something. And it's just like, yeah, like once this is done and like the dust settles, we go back to it. It's like you have ratcheted up the stakes that this is now capable of. You've expanded the universe of this to the point where it collapses everything else a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I think even compared to the other Blackguard episodes, like when we talked about the applesauce episodes, for instance, yes, there is this implication that like applesauce is going to do something bigger and badder than making the trains run way too fast or whatever. But the actual stakes of that conflict as framed up in those episodes are there are two competing, discovery emporia across town from each other, one of which upholds good small town Christian values, and the other of which is trying to brainwash children with video games.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Zapozoids.
Things
of that nature.
But like
that's a game for babies.
But that's a much more sensible scale for the conflict to be at, because like that makes sense in the context of the world. That's what this world is.
That's like kind of what like this almost feels like an excursion from Odyssey, because I know that like more and more. I think after this too, like there are more episodes. They go large.
They go
like several times during this.
They go much larger the next time around. Yeah, with
we on the other hand would never do that.
No.
Nope.
The rest of this conflict here and the way that things play out, the stakes just kind of become a bit more confusing.
Yeah.
We get Bernard, the window washer.
Yeah.
Jason has recruited him to sort of play the yokel and go in and set up the IR receiver that connects to the RF transmitter so that they can get info off the computer.
It's a paperweight that converts infrared light to radio waves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why not, man?
I love Bernard.
Yeah.
He might be my favorite character on the show. He's so good, and I love him in this episode.
Yeah.
He is
great
the
in this
MVP of this entire thing.
Okay, so here we go. Bernard shows up, and you might tell he's a little different here at the Harlequin Theater.
Excuse me.
No! Oh, you ought not sneak up on a fellow that way.
Can I help you?
No. I just wanted to let you know I was here, Edwin.
I'm not Edwin. I'm Dr. Regis Blackguard, Edwin's brother.
Really? Well, scratch my ears and call me Sparky. If you two ain't the spitting image of each other.
How kind.
He's so good. I love him as like, oh, well, this is obviously how you see all of us.
Yeah.
Regis.
He's come up with a good way to get them to evacuate the premises because he's already put on a mask. And then he, I don't know, mixes ammonia and bleach in a bucket or something, and this happens.
What in
This
the
is a war
world?
crime.
Is that smell?
Smell? Oh, you must be my cleaner. Dirt be gone. Best stuff in the business.
I can't breathe.
It's stinging my eyes.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
Yes.
That's why I wear the mask and goggles, you see.
That's why I'm wearing the mask and goggles is a great fucking line. That's good.
I mean, this is peak Bernard, right? Like the reason that I soured on Bernard was because on the Eugene road trips episode,
he got too preachy.
He became Whit. He became sort of the mouthpiece for Whit, but that's not who Bernard is. This is.
Yes.
He's just a merry little prankster.
Yeah, Bernard is a bad person.
Yeah.
Bernard is like not a nice guy, and that's why he's
At
fun.
all.
Yeah.
There's a point where in this very scene, it's a perfect line delivery for me, but it's Bernard being like, Blackguard's trying to get him away. He's trying to get him away from the Harlequin Theater. He's just like, look, I'll just tell him that you came, and we can get out of the contract that way. And then Bernard, in the tiniest voice you can imagine, goes, "You mean you'd lie?"
I love it because it's like he feels like he's mocking the show itself
Yes.
a little bit in this. Like,
yes.
Well, this is why.
because I'm like, this is not any different than half the characters on this show.
Well, it's
this
interesting.
is Tom Riley half the time.
Right. It's the interesting thing about when this show gets meta, right? Because oftentimes it's really fucking annoying, but every once in a while it works. And this is an example of it working.
I don't think it was intentional. I do not think they were trying to make a commentary on their own show with this, though. You know what I mean? Like,
they're thinking moment to
Lawler
moment.
would never admit that he's bad at this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can agree with you on that.
Based on,
but I did write. I just want you to know, AJ, that I wrote in my notes. Bernard shows up all cornpone dash AJ character.
Little bit.
Yep. No, that's fair.
I also
That's
noted
fair.
that the music behind him is Banjo-Kazooie music.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
this introduces his character. The way he's acting could have been named Banjo-Kazooie.
That's for sure.
It's like, hello, I'm Banjo-Kazooie. Nice to
It's just
meet
the
you.
two instruments he sees when he walks into the Harley Quinn theater. I'm Banjo Kazooie.
Yeah. Whenever Edwin is doing his one-man Hamlet, he's got Walter Shakespeare just with the kazoo in his mouth and a banjo in his hands as the accompaniment.
It's so stupid, but I do love the fact that they just made his assistant named Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's like, just go for it. Whatever. Fuck it. Shakespeare. Whatever.
Walter Shakespeare.
This is Steve Bible. He's the pastor.
Look, we haven't seen the pastor in a while,
True.
probably.
That's true, yeah.
Where is George Barclay?
You'll find out.
So Eugene, parallel to this, right, is continuing to work on the data because Bernard successfully installs the transmitter. They get the data. And Eugene basically also is like, hey, it's time to update my files on the laptop.
It's time to do a little updating on the old laptop.
That's exactly what he says. So Eugene notices something as he's poring over these files and this data.
Most interesting.
What is it, Eugene?
Well, I'd have to run tests to be certain, but in each of these formulae, the mineral appears to act
Formulae.
as a catalyst.
A cat or what? Oh, what is that?
Well, put simply, without the mineral, none of these formulae would work.
Formulae.
Or at least, they wouldn't work very well.
But the report says the mineral by itself is inert. Useless.
Inert. Of course. That's what he meant. The silent one.
The silent one.
Something Reverend Andrew told me when I was in the imagination station. I have a transcript here in the computer. You see? He said the locals called the mineral the silent one.
And the Indian word for it, Ru-Ka?
Unfortunately, that was part of the code Richard and I couldn't completely salvage.
Come on, Jason.
Ruku, of course. That's how Dad could work with it so effectively. It was right under his nose.
This is such a boring plot twist, I think, because I'm like, oh, it's the MacGuffin again. Cool,
right?
Yeah,
Sweet.
it's crazy though.
It's the catalyst for the
This
MacGuffin.
is the first you've heard
That's
of the Blackguard saga. Like for me, this was the first thing I heard. I didn't hear the applesauce saga. Well, I'd heard a couple of the applesauce things, but I hadn't actually heard the Blackguard parts of it. And I hadn't heard the NSA stuff at all. All I heard was this. And so Ruku, when that's the case, is a brand new word. And you're like, what the fuck is Ruku?
Yeah, if you don't listen to those episodes where Jason goes to Geneva, this really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. Why would you ever put a radio drama where you would have to have listened to every single episode to get anything out of it into into an audio medium?
That's funny,
that's
AJ, you're funny.
insane.
That's funny.
That's
Hello to our
wild.
new listeners. And we apologize.
Good luck.
God. When we were in pre-production for this episode, I really had a moment of being like, huh, I've heard about what these guys are planning, and I just don't know. And I said to myself, Self, you just gotta trust. And I sure hope that trust didn't go misplaced. We're gonna find out when this fucker drops. Let us know
might completely destroy this episode, but that's okay. It'll only be this one.
Folks, let us know in the comments how you're feeling so far. Drop those reactions in the comments. So Jason is now firmly in control. Patriots are in control, right? Jason Whittaker is in control. And
Jason.
The only thing is, though, he's not. He suddenly gets apprehended by the Odyssey PD on suspicion of death threats. Now, remember that very normal conversation that Jason had with Regis Blackguard in the theater the last time around? If you don't, we'll play it for you here real quick.
You can't hide the truth forever.
Oh, then you still don't trust me.
Of course I do. About as much as one former security agent can trust another, which is also why I'm going to be watching you.
Well, while you're watching, how about an endorsement?
Very funny. Just stay on your toes, Doc. You don't know what you're getting into. You're among honest people now.
So Jason was issuing sort of a stern warning, but Regis Blackguard, we found out in that episode, was secretly taping the whole interaction. And the payoff for that, we now find out, is that he re-edited it and handed it over to the police. And the police played this tape and were like, this is definitely real.
Why are you still alive? Now, Jason, just calm down. What did I ever
Mr.
do
Simpson.
to make you so angry with me?
Stop the charade. You don't know what you're getting into. Mayor of Odyssey? You'll never win.
Please, I just want to live a normal life.
You can't hide Stay on your toes, Duck.
What am I supposed to make of it?
Flawless.
I can't believe this.
So here's the thing. This is actually, I think, pretty accurate that cops would listen to this and be like, yeah, this is real. It's not making the statement they think that it's making, you know, like, but yeah, let's talk about this tape, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, no Doyle, we have none of our cop friends.
He's not a cop. He's a private eye.
Yeah, right. But also he also played the Irish cop at one point. That
He
was
didn't play the
written off
Irish
the
cop.
show.
Same actor played the Irish cop, but the Irish cop's a different guy from the dumb cop that they had to write out.
Oh
that
my
was
God,
replaced
really?
With Harlow
So-
Doyle.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so the
Orion,
Irish cop,
Officer Orion is Irish and fine, but Officer Harley could be Irish, but he doesn't have the Irish accent.
So okay, so where's Orion then?
It's up in the sky. He's got the 3 stars, and then it's kind of an hourglass shape.
Wrong time of year for it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have been owned on my own podcast. But no, it feels weird that like they're tying all these things together. They're tying all of Odyssey together. So why wouldn't you include like
because they're
all
not
of your
tying all of
characters?
Odyssey together, right? The Barclays aren't here.
There's no women.
Lucy's barely here.
That's-
Connie's barely here.
We only very briefly see Dale Jacobs, the editor of the newspaper. The rest of the Jacobs family is AWOL.
Gotta make room for all these new broadcasts.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's what would make this an interesting story is if they were actually tying everything together. They're tying together a bunch of shit, but not necessarily tying together all of these characters. But you're right, AJ. That's what they should have done.
And you know, the tape is so clearly edited, but like as you said, I just feel like the statement they're making is not the one.
This is another plot that doesn't need to happen, right? If you want to get Jason thrown in jail, that's to get him out of the way of something, right? Like, oh, Jason's the only person who could have kept them from doing X. Now that he's gone, they're going to do X, right? They could have done this instead of shutting down Whit's End. They get rid of Jason because he's the only one living there or whatever. But no, this is just in order to get him to pull strings with the NSA now, I guess. Also, they intercepted the wrong laptop. Remember how there's 2 laptops? That's where they found the Roku information because they were trying to get Jellyfish's laptop, but then they got Bovril's laptop. It's just so, again, way too specific. They always say more specificity. No, less specificity.
Not here.
There's a lot of redundancy in the characters here because why would you have this happen with Jason? Because it doesn't, as we'll see, really do much other than let's kill some time for 5 minutes kind of thing. But also there's some general sort of like overlap between him and Richard, right? As like these are both 2 sort of like, you know, what are they gonna do, men of action kind of thing. Jason's got that like, well, I was in the NSA, so I know how to make a bunch of kids do some stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. But he's
I met
got,
Joseph Coney out in the field.
Coney 95. But yeah, like because they kind of, especially with like the Jack storyline with Jason, they kind of are like, well, he's a bit of a wild card.
Yeah,
like he's hot headed and he's got ideas. He'll put in the most boring video game ever made and whatever because he's a loose cannon. But yeah, like so they have to do something with these guys because there just is not that much to do.
Yeah.
Especially for these guys' skill sets, which is I'm an operative. I'm going to go in and fuck some shit up. You can't really fuck anything up in this.
What's kind of interesting about this too, and by interesting I mean annoying, is that it means that there's less space for the good stuff because the good stuff in these episodes is largely the character interactions where people are truly dealing with each other. One of the big beats in this episode is about forgiveness and about the ways that people forgive each other. And the thing that is framed up as the sort of necessary forgiveness is Tom Riley and Richard Maxwell.
This has been simmering for a very long time. Richard burned down Tom's barn. He also hurt Lucy Cunningham Schultz back when he was a lackey for Regis Blackard. And then he went to jail. He came back. He made Regis suck him off in Chicago. With a gun to his head.
No.
I heard it. It happened.
I could hear the sounds.
Hold on, let's hop in the imagination station. Let's go check this out.
Betsy Ross.
I was really impressed with the sound effects in that episode.
Miss Kendall, I've plugged the imagination station into something called Archive of Our Own. It's indexed all of the stories. I'm going to peruse them to see if there's any material that I might be able to use later before I go to sleep.
And Connie's like, oh, okay, just don't check out any of the stories relating to my Bible studies.
Somebody knocks on the door in the night. I'm sorry, I heard screaming. It was ghosts.
So Richard had this interesting, this was our episode, Richard Ditchard Redemption, where he comes back and he tries to make amends, and Tom does not forgive him. And they let the episode just end on this sort of bitter, pained note.
No, he's been nursing a grudge for hundreds of episodes.
Yeah. Now Richard has almost died doing something for Tom.
Right.
And Tom is in the hospital with him.
So, you turned out to be quite a hero.
Some hero. I got caught. Pretty sloppy.
Look, it might be better if you don't talk right now. But just listen for a minute. I never meant for things to end up like this. I let my stubbornness and my pride get in the way.
But I love you.
I've sinned against you, Richard. Against you and against God. And I just hope that somehow, well, I hope you can forgive me.
Nothing to forgive. Deserved it.
No one deserves to be treated like I've treated you.
Let's forgive each other, okay?
Okay.
I did not hear this at that age, so like I feel like had I been listening to it at that age, this would have lost me at some point.
I don't.
Oh, it did not lose me.
No, I disagree. Personally, I disagree. I think that like what's going on here is it's showing a surprising amount of like nuance because once again, this show is at its most interesting when characters are more than just one thing. They have a multitude of different ways of sort of expressing themselves, and they have actual motivations that are grounded in real things that happened. This is Tom like really swallowing a great deal of his pride and a frankly well-earned grudge because of something that he has seen happen. But you can actually debate sort of this. I don't really want to, but one could theoretically have a conversation about this and be like, you know, is he really truly forgiving him from the right place? Or is it just that he is seeing from a rational, like a selfish, self-oriented perspective, oh, you did this thing for me, therefore I forgive you. You know, is this the right reason to forgive? Is this the right way to forgive?
And so much of this arc was about asking those kinds of questions until now, because it has to be part of this larger plot. And this episode has to be about two forgivenesses because Jack also has like a big forgiveness scene with Jason. This is the forgiveness episode because it's almost like they feel an obligation as a Christian series to like highlight this is why it's Christian to defeat the why and how it's Christian to defeat Regis Blackguard, right?
Yeah, something needs to be redemptive in here somewhere.
We have creation, we have fall, and then a secret third thing.
Look, I think the scene really works for me. Like I think I see Tom Riley looking at Maxwell in the bed, like just like, you know, obviously just coming out of a coma, like wired up to all these tubes. Yeah. And I don't honestly think he decides to forgive him until he sees him like that. Yeah. It's just like life is too short for this. And look at what happened to this poor fucking kid. And for a long time, I thought that my fundamental disagreement with Odyssey was that it was Christian and I am not. Except now that I am, I guess I'm on the same level. But I'm a Baptist, which, you know, is the Christian.
Most Christian.
It is the most Christian. Yeah. But I think my actual fundamental disagreement with Odyssey is that it cares about facts over feelings every single time, except for these couple of moments when the feelings actually come forward.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? What do you mean by that?
I mean, they're focusing on details. 99% of this episode is just like who's doing what and why, right? It's just about the specificity. But then every once in a while, McCusker, you get scenes where like actual human goddamn emotion emerges forth, right? And a lot, I think, of the way they talk about Christianity, it's something that, Brian, you brought up a very, very long time ago. It was about like quoting the Bible at each other. It's about knowing the most amount of lore. It's just facts. It's spewing religious facts at each other and not actually talking about the emotions underneath, the human emotions. It's a lot of theorizing about God facts and not enough about actually honest communication. And that's what strikes me about this scene, and about less so the second forgiveness scene that we're about to get into, but like really hits home here.
I clipped this. We don't need to play this though. If we
it's really just the same beat but worse. Like
this one is just basically Jack getting to say "I told you so" because
he
Jason
literally
makes him
says
say
I told you so.
Yeah.
Smarmy bitch of a man.
Let's just fucking roll it.
Okay.
I thought I could handle everything. That I knew how to fight it. But I don't. You were right. I was ignoring where the real battle is. Jack, can you forgive me?
Jason, do you really have to ask? Of course I do.
Beg me.
Thank you.
Now don't worry.
And he pulls out a gun. He's like, let's go to Chicago.
No.
The only place for blowjobs.
That's why they call it the Windy City.
There's a thing that Jack keeps saying throughout all this, and this has been, obviously the running conflict between them is Jason's like, I'm going to go do something, and Jack's like, no, I'm going to go and commune with the spirit elsewhere, and I'm going to go wander around a lake and have like weird, not premonitions, just nissions, but he's like, well, you can't understand this conflict without whatever, and I'm like, what part of this conflict requires some sort of transcendence, like some sort of sight beyond sight here? It's a very prosaic, if stupid and convoluted scheme. He wants this shit for personal gain. He hired a bunch of people for it. They came up with a really dumb plan for it. The end. Like, it's something where he's like, you can't even access what this is really about. And it's like, it's very simple what it's about. Like, I don't know where Jack's, aside from being slightly clairvoyant in some sort of manner, like, I don't even know, like, what he's referring to on this. And obviously I know that, like, this entire show, they have to constantly be like, well, no, there's something higher, there's something bigger going on that only we have access to or something, but they don't do a lot with this. Like, I definitely expected there to be more of a Richard being like, oh, he's possessed or something. I don't know. Like something that they actually needed Jesus magic for, but they don't ever use it.
No, because all they need to resolve this situation is get the police to arrest one guy who has clearly committed crimes, open up his laptop, siphon some gas, and that's it. That's all they needed to do to get to end all of this.
And that's exactly what they will do. Spoilers for the end of this. But
sorry, folks.
I'm sure you were on the edge of your seats being like, how are they going to figure this out? Because the mechanics aren't the interesting thing here. To your point, AJ, it's like thing after thing after thing after thing. But that's not what makes any of this interesting. It's the relationships between these characters. It is the delightfully campy performance from Earl Bowen. And it's just the way that these things operate together as a unit. But they lose sight of the forest for the trees so often that they just can't fucking get there.
One of the best scenes in this entire thing is an earlier episode where, I think it's in this saga, I forget which, where, Eugene is just dealing with the breakup or whatever. And Bernard's like, oh, so it's been pretty bad. And he's like, yeah, it's awful.
Yeah,
it's
just that little interaction there says so much.
That's when this show works. That's why Bernard versus Regis in that thing is also maybe the best kind of scene in this whole few episodes, just because it is these two characters who deal with things very differently coming together. And this one character who is, we don't see him doing a lot of like goofing off as far as schemes go and lying to people. Him just like, oh, how would this guy deal with this or something? And this whole thing is at its best when it is, we have this really established character. How would he go about this?
So I want to pull us through now to the next and final episode of this arc. Regis Blackguard at the end of this episode, he's about to make a statement. He looks like ass, and then this happens.
This is Kurt Morris live at the Harlequin Theater, where mayoral candidate Dr. Regis Blackguard is about to make a statement about Jason Whittaker. He's making his way to the microphones right now. He doesn't look very well, very pale and stressed.
Fellow citizens, I have been just as stunned and distressed as you have at the events that have transpired. Even as the incident was happening, I was hoping, praying that it was all a bad dream. But it wasn't. I bear no ill will towards Jason. I believe he needs professional help. My sincerest hope in this situation is that justice will prevail.
He's collapsed. Dr. Regis Blaggard has collapsed.
Somebody call an ambulance!
He jumped out.
What's the matter with Dr. Blackard?
I just had to keep that.
God damn it.
Man, can you imagine if it opened up with like Blackguard's funeral in the final
That'd be
episode?
sick.
It was just like, well, that solved itself.
Real fucking Succession hours.
At the brink of revelation, there is Patmos.
Lord Ligorium, are you with us?
What?
We have arrived.
Arrived? Arrived where?
The core of the labyrinth. It seems as though Whitaker was correct. The maze led us straight here.
Is that the red door from the back of Whitaker's shop?
It is. We would recognize it anywhere.
Well, come on then. No use waiting out here. Let's go get the tome and... Jerry?
We cannot go with you, Lord Ligorium.
What are you... We've made it to the door, Jerry. I'm not going through it without you.
We are afraid you will have to. We have carried you as far as we can. We are so sorry, Lord Ligorium. We are so...
Jerry, what? Oh my God. You're bleeding. Oh God!
It would appear our father's final blow struck true. He always knew how to hurt us best.
No. It's okay. It's okay. We just gotta stop the bleeding. Here we go. I'm just gonna... Oh my God, it's everywhere.
It's all right, my friend.
No, we're gonna stop the bleeding, and then we're gonna get you out of here. We're gonna get you back to Petey's, and he's gonna know what to do. And then we'll...
You know this.
Why didn't you tell me? I could have walked. I could
You
have...
had to make it to the center of the maze, and I had to be the one to carry you. I told you I would shoulder the weight. I am only sorry I could not carry you all the way.
Don't talk like that. We're gonna fix this, you hear me? I'm gonna figure out a way to fix this.
We shall stand guard for as long as we are able. And then when we go...
I ain't gonna let that happen, you hear me? I ain't gonna let that happen.
Our last thoughts will not be of pain or of torment or of all that could have been. Instead, we shall think of the stars. We shall think of a pipe organ and a song between friends. And we won't feel so alone. Because you will be with us.
I'm not gonna lose you, Jerry. I ain't gonna lose you too. I can't stop it. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
We are feeling rather tired, Lord Ligorium. Sing us to sleep. Please?
Hide and seek, playing sewing machines, all those years they were here first. Jerry, one more time from the top. Goodbye, Jerry Whitaker. See you in the stars. Okay. One last door. Okay, Lauren. Okay, just breathe. Wow. It's beautiful. All right. Let's do this. Who's there? Oh, fiddles.
I told you you'd bring me the book, Mr. Ligorium, and it appears that once again, I was right.
What happened to Pinky?
What happens to anyone who stands against me? There's just too many of us. Eventually, we always get what we want. Which also means you've served your purpose.
Whoa, easy.
I would say that I'll miss you, but your very existence is an abomination before my God. So I will simply say, good riddance, you God-forsaken sodomite. Oh God, my God. Why have you forsaken me?
Because you're a sanctimonious prick. That's why. Petey? Hey, Lorne. Sorry about the mess. Didn't mean to stain the ground. Wow, this really is just a white void, huh?
You came.
Couldn't sleep much last night. Got to thinking about all you down here, fighting through the dark, getting all the glory. Didn't sit right with me.
But how did you even get here? We had to go through heck and back.
Dunno. I walked down into the tunnel and the door was right there. It was almost like...
The maze wanted you here.
Yeah, I suppose so. So, that's it, huh? What all this hubbub is about? The tome?
That's it, all right.
What are you gonna do?
Dunno. Was thinking about blowing it up, but...
But?
I don't think we were put here to destroy. I think maybe we were put here to create. So I think maybe I'll give that a try.
Wait, you're not gonna use the book, are you?
It's already made so many terrible things. Maybe we can use it to make something good.
Lorne, that's suicide. You saw what it did to Jerry. I can't let you do that. I won't.
That's the thing, Petey. I can't do it alone, so I was hoping maybe you'd do it with me.
Me?
I want it too bad, Petey. The power. Whitaker was right. I like the control. I want to live in a world where I don't have to be scared and eat apple cinnamon oatmeal all day and not worry about my new friends turning into lions and trying to eat me.
What the hell did I miss?
I kept myself from you for so long. Hid myself away because I was scared that if you saw that part of me, you'd see me for the monster that I am and leave. But no more hiding. I think this is the best plan, but I won't do it without you. I want to do everything with you, from now until maybe a few seconds from now when we are both incinerated by an all-powerful book in the heart of a maze underneath an ice cream shop.
You always were a romantic, Lord Ligorium.
So, what do you say?
How would this work, exactly?
Well, the founders of Odyssey touched the book and infused it with their hate, their jealousy, their rage. So, I guess when we touch it, we just gotta infuse it with something else?
Something else?
I don't know. Something new, something good, something like,
love?
Yeah, maybe. If you like.
I think I would like that. Fuck me. So, how do we do it?
I think we just put our hands on it. Think about the world we wish to see.
What kind of world is that?
One for people like us, I guess. No clones.
No rooms of consequence.
No egomaniacal ice cream shop owners. Just us. Together. Forever.
Mighty tall order, but okay.
Okay?
Okay. You ready?
As I'll ever be.
On the count of 3 then. 1,
2, 3.
Good evening, Odyssey. Grievin' Stephen Sully here for Grievin' Stephen's Afternoon Rodeo, and here's all the news that's fit to ride. It's been 2 weeks since our very own ice cream emporium suffered what appered to be a minor explosion.
Hey, will you tone that down? Some of us are trying to choreograph over here. Okay, Bones. If we are gonna get this production of Floyd Collins off the ground so's we can raise monies to save this theater from being destroyed by that Grossman fella, we're gonna need to put our nose to the grindstone and friggin' grind. You feels me's, boys?
Yeah!
Then let's do this thing. A 5, 6, 7, 8.
Many in town were shaken by the closure of Mr. Whitaker's ice cream emporium, but Odysseans have found new places to gather. Places like Petey Pounderoga's Pound Town, which recently opened up a gaming parlor in the back.
You find yourself in a dungeon. The walls are dripping in a viscous goo, and you hear breathing down the hall. What do you do?
Can I see any traps?
Give me a perception check, Ben.
Okay. Ugh, 3.
Looks fine to you?
I hate you so much, Lawrence. I cautiously walk into the cave.
Give me a dexterity save.
No!
Hey, it's okay. You'll get through the maze, I promise. Or maybe not. Now, give me that save.
Or Pinky's Patisserie, which is bringing a bit of class to Main Street.
That's right, no pushing. There's plenty of pastries for every person. Try the clone nuts, they are to die for. And thank you for coming to Pinky's Patisserie. You will be back.
Yes, everything seems at long last at peace in the town of Odyssey, and...
Heads up, stupid! Ow! Stop throwing caramels at my head, Jimmy!
Sorry, folks. As a special treat for you all, I'm joined here in the studio by my big brother, Jimmy Sully. Say hi, Jimmy.
Hello, Radioland. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm on the dang radio. Hi, Ma. Hi, Dad.
Yes, well, hello, Mom and Dad, indeed. It's a beautiful evening in Odyssey. The current temperature is 67 degrees, with winds coming out of the northwest.
Here we go. That's a ticket. Brought you some pound cake. Not my best batch. Jerry says it's missing something, but I can't for the life of me figure out what. Oh, yeah, Jerry's working to Pound Town now. Since the cafe opened, we've been swamped, and since Jerry split up into all of his, different people, he needed a place to stay, so... But, as I was saying, business has been booming since Whitaker's shop shut down, so much so that, well, I was able to buy the pop organ emporium. I don't know what to do with it. I haven't gone in there since. Can't seem to bring myself to, You know, ever since I woke up in the woods outside of Whitaker's place, I've been wondering if I did something wrong. If I'd only destroyed the dang book, if I thought of something better before I touched it, if I'd have stopped you altogether, you'd be sitting here with me and not. We wanted to make a better world, but how can it be a better world without you in it? Everyone else has given up on you. Got you this nice headstone on this hill next to your parents, but I can't believe it. I won't believe it. I know you're out there somewhere. I could feel it. I don't believe in God, Lord Ligorium, but I do believe in you. And I know that you're gonna find your way home again. Well, that's my cue. Can't leave Jerry alone too long on the register or he'll start roaring at the customers. Old habits, I guess. See you soon, Lorne. God, it's a hell of a view you got up here. You could see the whole dang town. And would you look at that sunset? I love the light just before dusk. It shines so bright, brighter than the rest of the day, turning the sky red and purple and gold, as if to say, don't worry. The night may come, and it may be full of terrors, but I'll be back. You'll see. It might be a while,
long, long night, but I'll be back. And I'll bring with me hope and joy and light. Oh, I love to watch the sun set over Odyssey, Lord Ligorium. It is such a beautiful sight.
We're going to go here now into episode 334, the final conflict. This is, of course, also the final episode of Darkness Before Dawn.
Oh, my God.
It aired on October 7, 1995. And once again, the credit on here is co-written by Phil Lawler and Paul McCusker. This episode...
They said we wouldn't make it. They said we would never make it, but here we are.
Here we go, baby.
Suck it, haters.
So, some reminders and exposition up top here. Brian, roll that beautiful bean footage.
So that's it, Jack. I've been working with the National Security Agency as an analyst most of my adult life.
You can't just tell people that!
Like your father? Mm-hmm. Well, Dad's more of a consultant. As I understand, he's never actually been on the payroll.
What about what?
Never officially.
Question.
This is
I thought he
great.
was with
Thank you.
European security, but now I know he isn't. My guess is that he's a megalomaniac. He just wants power and lots of money.
I love it whenever they use a word like inert or megalomaniac where they then have to give the definition for the children.
Now we know formally that Whit is an NSA asset, along with, of course, being a client of the U.S. Department of Defense.
Yeah.
Because Applesauce, as we'll recall, was originally DARPA tech. So
the formula TA418, Tasha Avery 418. It was some sort of formulation developed by Tasha Forbes and John Avery Whittaker.
Right.
I'm a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird that they didn't use like a Bible thing. Like it's not, TA 316 or something.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't like do
That's
a cute
the
little
one
reference.
Bible verse AJ knows, everyone.
That's the one.
Gotcha.
That's the one. They gave me the holistic Bible, but again, I can't read canonically.
Yeah.
So I've just been kind of putting my hand on it.
Sorry,
and
what
feeling
kind of
the
Bible
vibes.
did they give you, AJ?
Holistic?
The
What was
holistic
it?
Bible. Okay.
Yeah, what is it? That's what it's called, right?
The Holy Bible?
The Holman? The Holman. The Holman Bible?
Yeah, it's a
Holman
person's
Bible.
name. Yeah, the Holman Bible. Okay,
Yeah.
I get. You're still growing. You're still a young Christian.
That's right.
Well, I can't read the thing on the cover.
Holy is an abbreviation for
holistic.
Anyway.
So Blackguard wants to use TA418, this chemical formula or whatever, to make the Ruku virus. And as we've mentioned before, that mineral that's in the tunnels, that is the MacGuffin that's going to allow him to do it. And so if he can continue to have access to this special mineral, he's going to be able to manufacture as much of this virus as he wants and take over the world.
More than manufacturing, they can manufacture Ruku just fine, but it's basically a disease that you cannot catch. It's a virus that has been discovered that you can only really seem to contract by getting injected with it, because if it is exposed to air, it is completely dead on arrival. So what TA418, along with this mineral in the basement, allows you to do is weaponize Ruku so that it can not only be caught in the air, it can then therefore as well become contagious.
Yes. And this matters for reasons.
Well, it means now it's dangerous. Now Ruku, which it turned out wasn't really a problem, you can pour it into the water supply. You can put it into all the raw milk. You can release it at a wet market in Wuhan from the lab across the street.
You can release it as pesticides. Chemtrails.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it destroys that pest known as Christians.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, and so there's a whole supply of it, obviously, now under Whit's end. And so, like, his plan becomes, like, much clearer now, right? It is to get the thing in order to make the weapon, to sell it to the highest bidder, and become God king of
Yes.
theaters.
Right.
Do 12 monkeys. Yeah.
So now with the stakes clearly set, we move on here to Jason, who finally has Odyssey PD fully on his side, right? The battle lines have been drawn. The Israelites are being deployed. They're teaming up with Rodney to go into the tunnel at Whit's End.
Yep. They are carrying out the Hannibal doctrine.
I was going to say, them saying Israelites in all these situations
It's so anti-Semitic.
uncomfortable.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate
Well,
it.
it's the weird Christian, like, philo-Semitism,
Philo-Semitism, yeah.
I don't know why that one just skipped my brain there, where they're just like, we're Christians, so we're going to do a Passover Seder or something, because it's part of our history, too.
Boy, let me tell you about the church that Katie Lee and Townsend Coleman, the voice actors for Connie and Jason, go to, because it is exactly that.
Oh, really?
That's what I came up in, is that sort of thing.
Oh,
so, yeah.
shit. Okay, because the thing is, it feels like such a California thing. Like you give Southern Californians Christianity for long enough, they will eventually try to build the Ark of the Covenant. Like I have cousins who like work in like homeschool co-ops and stuff, who used to joke about like 3 different groups that they were with that started to call their church a synagogue.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's like, it's weird when people look at like weird, like American Zionism and get all anti-Semitic with it. I'm like, no, it's weird Christians. It's mostly weird Christians.
It's mostly weird Christians.
90% weird Christians.
There's so many.
So many. And some of those weird Christians, of course, are the Israelites here in Odyssey. Weird ass Christians.
Do you think they're wearing the costumes here, or are they just like in their street clothes?
I think it's more entertaining if they are wearing the bathrobes. So I'm going to choose to believe that they are.
Are they wearing this over their clothing, or are these guys just running around with only a weird little?
Oh yeah, they're just hanging brain
funnier.
under them.
It's definitely funnier if they're nude underneath. So
Yeah.
once again, that's just what I'm going to say that it is.
Just Whit walking up to a kid like, they didn't have underwear in the Bible.
No.
David danced naked before the Lord.
Oh, we're really on one for this last episode. Oh, baby.
On a fucking
Mabel's like,
heater.
you have 4 new emails from Jeffrey Epstein.
Letting that riff die right
Yeah, no,
there.
for sure.
It's like, usually I don't like rap, but there's this guy, Puff Daddy. He's a very good friend of mine.
Philip Glossman, remember him?
Yeah. More like, wait.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry.
More
wait,
like,
what's he more like?
More like,
more like Frederick Glossman? Yeah.
So he sort of arrives. Stop!
Wait.
I'm coming.
Great.
Folks, we are now going into our 3rd hour of recording.
Let's fucking go!
Who knows how much I've cut at this point, but it is certainly 3 hours for us right now.
Yeah. Going strong.
Doing great.
I'm on my literally 3rd can of Coke Zero.
Let's go.
I just grabbed a whole liter bottle from the fridge.
So, yes, we something is going on with Blackguard, right? His health is just not doing well. And he is in the midst, actually, of really angrily rebuffing a doctor about some sort of diagnosis. We don't know what it is yet. We just know that he's not happy with his doctor. Meanwhile, Jellyfish... Well, he's at work.
It's time to do a little updating on the old laptop computer.
All he does.
Computer.
And
so he's made his way into Whit's End, right? Through the second tunnel, the tunnel that goes out to the woods, if you remember the lore.
Right.
So the Israelites have followed him in.
Yeah, Rodney has actually sort of spearheaded this to get his final revenge, right? And we get this interaction between Rodney, the Israelites, and Jellyfish.
Anyone didn't drag off Richard Maxwell. You did. I saw ya.
Richard who? I never heard of him.
Well, that's funny, because Richard mentioned you by name.
He did?
Yeah. And he said you have a laptop that contains evidence clearing Tom Riley in the Edgebuyer scandal.
Don't just tell him
you didn't
that.
finish the job, Jellyfish. Richard's
He's
alive.
bigger than
And getting
you.
stronger by the minute.
I'm sure he just loved to
has a
testify that
laser.
you're the one that tried to murder him.
But I don't know what you're talking about.
It's over, Jellyfish.
You want the laptop? Fine. Catch!
Oh, get it!
Got it!
He's getting away!
Israelites,
close in.
He should have just
Jellyfish is headed for
dashed
the
it on
back
the
door.
ground then.
Repeat, close in now.
And now he's swarmed by 8-year-olds.
I'm not going back to jail.
They're just dragging him down to the ground.
Yeah.
Stabbing him.
His line reads are great here. Like he ends up completely blowing out the mic, but he's just
so
screaming,
good.
"Never,
It's
no!"
so
and then he
good.
starts like crying.
Yes.
He is fucking delivering, man.
I will say, on the other hand, I think that the he's heading for the back. Get him, Israelites. That could have used another take, maybe. I don't know.
I think it is very funny that after this, all the kids disperse and there's just a skeleton where he used to be.
Like in Galaxy Quest.
It's kind of like, I kind of wish that like he had kept narrating. It's like, oh, let go of my leg. Let go of my other leg. Hey, you get off my back.
Yeah, now you're picking me up. Stop doing
they're
that.
throwing ropes over me and dragging me to the ground.
That could have gone.
Oh, God, you nude under those? Dear God.
You went too far, AJ. You took it too far. You did it again. You blew it.
I've ruined everything.
What we're saying here is that this is basically an adaptation of Suddenly Last Summer.
Well, I did want to say one quick thing about this entire sequence, which is that I've been obviously editing with a lot of sound effects lately, and it's so fun to be able to recognize, like, oh, that's footsteps on hardwood floor.
Yeah.
In shoes. Like they're using like the exact things from the sound library. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, this has also happened with me, like when I was doing film.
Oh,
stuff.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I now hear certain things in commercials or in like podcasts. I'm like, hey, that's from the free BBC sound library that they put out.
Why do you think that I'm always able to identify the fucking sound effects from XCOM? Right?
I mean,
it's like
it's amazing how many big like professional companies and commercials and stuff will use like Apple loops from GarageBand.
Oh, just like the standard. Yeah.
It's like that's the Nordic keyed fiddle too. Yeah.
Fucking House of the Dead 2 is almost entirely royalty-free loops. That I have also used. Like, it's good stuff. But anyway,
it's all just the royalty-free YouTube music or whatever. Yeah.
Bless you all. Bless all of you for making those royalty-free sounds on YouTube. You are the true artists. You are the last remnant of the dream of the internet still alive today.
Absolutely, positively. Anyway, the police now have the computer. They have Jellyfish's computer in their possession, which means that everything will be able to be admitted into evidence and so on. Meanwhile, Blackguard makes a big statement. He's actually standing down. He's no longer going to continue his mayoral campaign, which they repeatedly say mayoral for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, like formulae.
But it's basically too hazardous to his health, or so he claims.
Yeah.
Again, this is raising questions. What's really going on here with his health? And he assigns Glossman to answer questions in his stead. But then Bart, who's been basically fucking jilted by this whole situation, comes out of the woodwork to pester him.
Yeah. So Bart was promised an endorsement if he let the Electric Palace get vandalized, and Regis left the stage without any such endorsement. So yeah, Bart's on the case.
Come on, Glossman, tell him. Tell him how you and Blackguard planned together to get Tom Riley kicked out of office.
Tom Riley kicked out of office?
Please, yes, Mr. Jacobs.
Excellent
Let's get back to the
rando audio this
legitimate
whole
question,
scene.
shall we?
Actually, I've just received word that the police are holding a young man nicknamed Jellyfish who has implicated both you and
Why not
Dr.
just call him
Blackguard
Myron
in several
Horowitz?
crimes that have occurred around the city in recent weeks.
A young
Well,
man.
Mr. Glossman, what do you have to say?
Yeah, Glossman, I'd like to have a statement.
I don't.
Yeah, Glossman,
I suppose that. From now on, all questions will be answered by my legal counsel. This conference is over.
Glossman, more like Glossman.
It is.
It is more
This
like
is a fun scene. It's made even more fun by the crowd noise.
Yes. Yeah. Just because it's sort of come up already, his first name is Myron. What they don't say, I don't think they ever actually say it, but his full name is Myron Horowitz.
A male witch, a warlock.
I feel like the prefix for philosemitism perhaps should be changed for this Myron business.
Yeah, well, that's what makes philosemitism so dang interesting now, isn't it?
It's like they like Jews and Israel in theory.
Yeah.
On specifics as people, they're not really sold.
You see, you gotta be one of the good ones.
Right.
Yeah, it also kind of feels like an over there thing. It's like, oh, I think this is fine if it's not in my backyard.
Oh, for sure.
That is the very specific vibe I get from it. And it's so weird that it just keeps happening, right?
Yeah.
Because especially in this show, it's
Is
like,
it weird, AJ? I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's weird at all. I think it's expected.
I was weirded out that they didn't at least go like, hey, my last name is Taglioni or something like that. They didn't even go with the like,
just
oh,
make it Italian.
He's an Italian-American criminal.
Yeah.
Like, they talk like this
right.
or something. Like, they kind of just never go that direction with it, which is bizarre to me because it's the level of laziness that I would expect from this show.
Yeah. So we learn a little bit of specificity here too, just about what the actual setup is. Blackguard owns the Electric Palace outright. Bart has just been basically custodian of it. But here's the thing, though. He's even more pissed off than before, right? Because now he's been fully double-crossed. He's not getting anything out of this deal anymore. Blackguard and Glossman just fully made Bart their bitch, and he is not happy about it because he lost basically everything.
This is foreshadowing, right? Because Bart blows up this whole relationship, and then someone else is going to blow up some shit. But so we have some miles to go before we get
Regis
there.
is headed towards Whit's End, where Myron Horowitz is supposed to be waiting for him with a change of clothes.
Right. Unfortunately, yeah.
Why does he have to change his clothes? He's leaving town with a new identity?
I'm just imagining, it's like a Hitman Agent 47 situation, right? Where
everyone knows who he is. You know, it's like he was just running for mayor 5 minutes ago.
Isn't that child psychologist?
Yeah.
Hold on. He doesn't smell like a Christian. I don't think it's him. But like what? So wait. So when does he decide to do his plan? His ultimate plan here?
Right.
Because
this is a good question. This is a very good question because up until now, the plan has been occupy Whit's End, mine the tunnel for the mineral, presumably.
You just kind of have to pick it off the wall like so many berries.
You have to lick it like a goat.
And then, step 3, profit, right? Now the plan has changed completely. He's returning to Whit's End to occupy the tunnel, to be down there, and he now has nothing but murder on his mind, basically. He wants to annihilate Whit's End no matter what.
And change his clothes.
Right. and then skip
And then they
town.
will drive their truck away.
Right.
So earlier, and I do want to just play this clip because I mentioned it in the last episode's little prologue, the scene about the mint or the gum.
Oh, yes.
So Bernard and Eugene are also doing their little hangout in McAllister Park, staking out Whit's End. And Bernard has gone for a walk. Eugene is indoors, and then Bernard shows up again.
Mr. Walton, you returned at last.
I don't have a cow, Eugene. I told you I was going to canvass the area. You have a breath mint or some gum or something?
Huh? Well, why do I need it? I know my halitosis flares up occasionally.
It's not for you, Eugene. It's for me. You know, while I was walking around, I came across a large van parked near the end of the tunnel.
But I thought that area was off limits to normal traffic.
Well, so did I. The van was all locked up, but on the driver's seat was a rental agreement with Professor Bovrel's name on it.
Interesting.
I was cruising, Eugene.
Explain why you need a breath mint.
Let's just say the van left a bad taste in my mouth, okay?
Eugene, I sucked off a man behind the van. Is that what you want to hear? This is Odyssey's ramble.
You ever spend time in Balboa Park, Eugene? That one's for you, AJ.
Gladiator movies. So, Brian, I want to talk to you about this scene because you have talked about this scene sort of at length as being something that is stuck in your craw. And I want to examine that. Like, what about this scene do you think is stuck with you?
No idea. I guess maybe because it respects its audience a little bit. It sort of trickles everything out. It also doesn't explain what siphoning gas is. It kind of assumes that maybe you know what siphoning gas is because you've seen it on TV somewhere before or something. Yeah, it's just like starting with this little thing and you are like, why is Bernard asking for this mint or this gum? And for whatever reason, in the back half, anything post-conversion that stuck with me from Darkness Before Dawn is, of course, the climax, Richard rolling out of the car and Bernard asking for a mint or gum or something. That is what has stuck with me all the way into adulthood until I finally listened to these episodes again this week.
That's a level of craft that you just don't see a lot.
It's Chekhov's fuel tank. You know that something is about to happen. It turns out that Bernard has committed like the second most consequential act in this entire series.
But it does feel too that like it's just a moment, a nice casually observed moment between these two characters that we've grown close to over the course of it, that like we get these flashes of like the heights of the road trip, right? And there's sort of that familiarity there. It reminds me that my dad, I read Shogun, James Clavell's Shogun in high school, and my dad was like, "Oh, I love that book. Let me know when you get to the part about the ducks." And I was like, okay, great. Now, Shogun is a 1,000+ page book, like a 1,200 page book. I get to the end of the book and I'm like, Dad, what part about the ducks? There was no like significant plot thing that happened. There were no like major characters who are like eaten by ducks or anything. So I'm like,
that's what you thought it was going to be? Like,
I thought there'd be something.
Here's this historical drama going on, and then all of a sudden the ducks just fucking eat Oda Nobunaga.
People die in some crazy ways in Shogun. That's all I'm saying. And so I was like, Dad, what the fuck is up with this? And he was like, oh yeah, in that scene they were walking through the marketplace, there were ducks hanging upside down. Crazy. Huh. And I was like, that's the thing, right? Is that what my dad is obsessed with is the minutia of old societies and how they're different than the ones that he grew up with. And so that's the thing he laser focused on. And Brian, I think it's very interesting that this scene with the mint is what you laser focused on, because it is such a very fun moment of humanity in these like big, like grandiose, like plot machinations. I don't know. I think maybe this is your act 2 of Allegro. I think you have spent your entire life.
My entire life trying to do the gum scene.
Trying to do the gum scene.
Jesus Christ! This is why I don't write. Exhibit B of why I don't write: the beginning of this episode.
I was going to say, this is why I don't let you two motherfuckers record for more than 3 hours. But I am going to pull us back into those plot machinations, unfortunately. Jellyfish, I mean, he is just, he's just singing, basically. Yeah. And he's doing he's a fucking idiot. Like, he doesn't get his lawyer. He doesn't get his fucking lawyer. He's like, oh yeah, I'll trust you to do a good deal with me before he even fucking brings a lawyer in to negotiate the terms of the deal.
He's done all this work with that laptop to get all this information, have every piece of incriminating
fucking
thing there, and he completely blows his chance to negotiate, and here he is with the coppers.
Hey, we got a deal, right? You know, I signed a confession and you reduce the charges, huh?
That's up to the lawyers, but I can tell you that it may go a lot easier on you if you continue to cooperate.
Come on, you got the computer. What else do you want to know?
This is Shaw.
Jellyfish, were you at Whit's End to meet Blackguard?
Yeah. He was supposed to go there after his little press conference. He ought to be there by now.
Okay, thanks. Jason, hospital security just called. They have Glossman and Bart Rathbone in custody. Looks like your idea worked.
It's a good thing Bart didn't know he's also on Jellyfish's computer. Okay,
thanks, Jason.
On to the main catch. Lieutenant Shaw, you need to deploy your men around the perimeter fence at Whit's End and be ready to move on my signal.
Right.
I wouldn't get too close if I was you.
Why not?
Well, because Blackguard plans on blowing up the tunnel, that's why.
What?
Yeah.
This is Shaw. Get me the bomb squad.
How do you know?
Yeah, it's been part of his plan the whole time.
It has?
We gotta make sure our people are out here. Jack, could you? Jack?
I mean, I guess it does sort of make sense that would be part of the plan if, you know, this is the one place you can get the mineral, and the plan is to mine out enough of it.
Yeah.
But presumably it can't be synthesized. This is strange.
Well,
this is really strange.
We'll talk about the plan in a second about why it's blowing up, because there is a reason.
Okay.
And I think it's an interesting one, actually. But yeah, so Bart, he was doing conspiracies. He can go in for conspiracies.
But I was like, what did he do? Just go, a bunch. Like Rodney maybe or whatever. Yeah. But all Bart did was get his shit like vandalized and not report it. I don't know. Like, I guess
there might be some tax evasion or
it just seemed
mail
like
fraud.
we arrested him for being bad or something.
I mean, I feel
he's
like
from New York.
The fact that he is named in these documents is probably enough to get him at least on like racketeering or something like that.
Bart and Rodney do go to prison for a little while, but they get out after, I don't even know, maybe a couple of years. They do show up back on the show, but they do both serve time.
Oh, does this actually, in the continuity, Rodney's just gone?
Yeah, he's just gone for a bit.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought like it would be like the next episode, and you'd see him in a few episodes, and he'd be like, "Yeah, my stint in juvie for 2 weeks or something, whatever."
No, I think they were
just to kind of go, yes, we did, but let's move on. It's interesting that they were like, "No, these motherfuckers are going down."
I think they were maybe trying to write them out and then realized, oh shit, no, we got rid of a couple of our best characters.
Yeah, no, you can't get rid of those characters. They're too good.
Yeah.
But what you can get rid of is the tunnels under Whit's End by laying bombs.
Is the tunnel prepared, Professor?
Yes, Dr. Blackguard. It's wired to blow up just as you ordered. But I'm still confused as to why you're so intent on it.
Me
It's
too.
as simple as this. If we missed any of the mineral, no one else will be able to get it. But even more importantly, Whit's End has been the thorn in my side for so long. It will give me great satisfaction to be rid of it. The detonator, please.
Here you are.
Thank you.
Me too, bud.
Jellyfish!
So the less interesting thing is that he just wants to destroy Whit's End because fuck Whit, fuck this town, fuck everybody.
But that's not the less interesting. That's the more interesting thing.
No, that's the less interesting thing because the more interesting thing is that Blackguard wants to create artificial scarcity by destroying the only known source of the Ruku mineral. So he wants to have complete control over it, but he needs to monopolize the market so that he can get the maximal profits for this mineral.
I also missed, by the way, that he was saying if there's any left, which then implies that they've already mined it out.
They've mined the whole thing. Like I said, you just have to pick it off like berries or lick it off like
where
a
did
goat.
they put it?
That's what you do with minerals.
In
You just
the
pick
van.
it off.
Oh, it's in the van. It's in the van. Okay.
It's a van's worth of mineral.
Okay, but like
It goes a long way.
genuinely though, like this is not. Imagine if rather than this fucking bullshit, it was like a 2-minute monologue about how much he hates Whit's fucking guts, and this is going to be his ultimate revenge. And you just give that to Earl Bowen and let him play with it. It would be the best thing ever.
I think it's more interesting because he's the bad kind of capitalist. He's like, capitalism is good. We need capitalism.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's the thing that is like the necessary essence of society, but it's like, it's so neoliberal. It has to be run right. You have to just get the right people involved. It's Jimmy Carter right here. It's like you need the person who has the soul, who has the Christianity, and Blackguard has the capitalist sentiment and the desire to make money and own things and all of that, but he's not a Christian, so he's also going to create artificial scarcity.
Yeah. He's
so
one
that
of
the Muammar Gaddafis of the world can't make their own Rook.
Right, but also,
yes,
he's really banking on the fact that this is the only supply of Ruku in the entire world.
Yeah, that's how minerals work.
Yeah.
One might think, and just stay with me here, right?
Yeah.
One might think that given that Odyssey itself is known for having an extensive system of caves and other underground stuff, and given the way that minerals, tend to appear in deposits, maybe there's another deposit of it under Odyssey somewhere, or maybe elsewhere.
Like another cave has
nearby.
a tunnel that connects maybe to like a larger, maybe mammoth-sized cave
Perhaps.
that has Ruku. Like maybe they need their own sort of Floyd Collins to go hunting around in the tunnels and then not get stuck.
They should write a musical about it. I mean, it came out a year before this in 94. So what's interesting, too, is that I think this is like one of the biggest indicators of how kind of screwed they were because of Hal Smith's death, because this is a case where he can't face off against Sherlock because Sherlock isn't there.
Yeah.
He has to face off against Sherlock's
Mycroft,
his brother. I guess, right?
It is.
It's
Moriarty and Minecraft.
Sherlock Jr. Yeah,
Minecraft. We don't quite get the face-off that we deserve. But we do get a showdown. We do. Because Bernard, again, has siphoned the gas out of Blackguard's car. And so
Bovril doesn't get far.
MVP.
And so we get this another wonderful Earl Bowen delivery here.
Fools, come after me in the tunnel if you dare.
So good.
Fantastic.
So good. He's just operating on a different level from almost anyone else.
Absolutely. We do get a good versus evil showdown because Jack also runs down into the tunnels and they face off.
Jack has presumably been down here a while.
That's a good point. He's just down there. He's chilling.
He could have unplugged all of the bombs.
or like Dracula in Castlevania, just sitting there.
He's sipping out of a goblet.
Regis Blackguard appears like it was ghosts.
So let's hear it. Let's hear that showdown.
You have nowhere left to go. The tunnel is sealed off in all directions.
Ah, you obviously found my little escape hatch in the woods. How very clever.
I've been walking around the park a lot lately. You're trapped.
Not if I use you as a hostage.
Sorry, I won't go along with that.
Would you rather die?
I'm not afraid to.
Based.
That does go hard.
That's so hard. Like,
it's like it's just like he just takes out a machete, cuts off his hand, and it's like, let's fucking go. You ready?
Like, just kill the hostage.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Jack tries to save Regis's soul because it wouldn't be Odyssey without some evangelism.
I'm prepared for death. How about you?
I see. Brave Jack Allen, Christian soldier to the end, stops the evil Dr. Blackguard and saves the world.
I'm not here to save the world, Doctor. I'm not here to save Odyssey, nor even Whit's End. I'm here for you. For your soul. That's the only thing that matters right now. Not money or power or computer programs or viruses or world terrorism. It all comes down to your soul. Why don't you put down the detonator and give yourself up so you'll have time to redeem your soul?
The flaw in your proposal is that you assume my soul is redeemable. It isn't.
It's so good.
I auctioned it off years ago.
Then you sold yourself cheap. Your soul was worth the life of Jesus Christ. To give it to anyone else is an incredible waste.
And again, it's just like the circular conversation.
No,
Everyone's
right.
at the conclusion of the moment. They want their villain to die, and they want their villain to go
to hell.
Straight down there. Here's my hot take about this. It should have been Jason, and not Jack.
Because Jason is Whit's son and has a more direct connection.
But
Because
also
they know
yes,
each other?
That, but it's
They do know each
also they know each other from the past. That's another huge thing. But also Jason has undergone what could arguably and charitably be described as a character change.
Sure.
Right.
And Jack has not.
Yeah, he has been impulsive and he has acted on instinct, and it has fucked him over. And so for him to be there and be like, look, I understand where you're going with this. I understand that you want to blow this all up. But I'm telling you, from my experience, acting on impulse and instinct doesn't do any good for fucking anyone. And that is a more interesting scene to me than God is good. You should like him because he has a surfboard.
This is an evangelical production.
Right.
And the evangelism is at the core here. Everyone can be saved, except, I don't know, they land on a weird place with Regis, but we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
So
that's the craziest part about all
So
this.
Blackguard's biggest thing is like, no, I'm not going to give myself up to the police.
Right.
I'd only have a few months left to live anyway.
Right.
You see, dear Jack, my illness isn't an act.
What?
I have a virus.
Ruku?
Then Jason told you. Yes, it seems that somewhere along the line I was exposed to a strain of it. And I will not die that kind of death. It's pointless. So I suggest you run for your life.
You don't want to kill me.
Oh, you fool! Why wouldn't I? Goodbye, Jack Allen.
Lieutenant Shaw. Whitaker, I'm not sending my people in until we know what the situation really is.
Then I'm going in.
No, Jason. You're gonna stay put until we...
Everybody get back!
Go set off the bomb! Lord, help us.
No.
Come on.
Like, they almost had me.
Yeah.
You know what this is it is a less effective version of what we heard
Corey Burton saying Sam in the Pearl Harbor episode. Yeah.
which that is a moment that works.
This would have worked if they just didn't make it echoey.
Why'd they put the fucking reverb on it?
Yeah, that was my whole thing about it. It's like, it's so close to working. I mean, fucking Earl Bowen's Goodbye,
It's
Jack
so
Allen.
good.
You fool. Why wouldn't I? It's like, yeah, but let's fucking go, man.
Yeah, well, I think that, like, I agree that actually, I think Jason being involved, I think it actually could have been all three of them. It could have been something where Jason's like, I don't know, this wouldn't happen this way, but he's like, I got a gun on your fucking head there, Regis, or whatever. Like, so Jason's about to, go through some expedient way that may seemeth right to a man, etc.
Right.
And then, so Jack has to talk him down from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jason has to acquiesce and go, yeah, you're right. And then they both go in for the kill for the
For the salvation.
for the soul
Conversion.
of,
The conversion,
Regis. And then that happens, and then there's some sort of interplay between Jason and Jack, and how they handle it, and maybe save each other from the tunnel or whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
There are so many interesting, fun little character things you could do there that they just don't do because this is clearly supposed to be Whit.
Yes,
I feel
exactly.
like.
And that's exactly kind of what I was wanting to say too, is that the whole point of the Jason Jack dichotomy is that you're taking Whit and you are splitting him up into two different guys. And so it makes it impossible to capture both sides of Whit because they are not themselves that character. Whereas if you did have Whit down there, he could do both sides of that conversation.
Yeah, Whit would be witnessing, but he'd also have some kind of weird fucking... he'd also have some kind of weird fucking trick up his sleeve.
Yes.
The thing that was weirdest to me about this is because there's a very, very obvious end of episode plot twist that could have happened here. And I am shocked it didn't. So, they blows up the tunnel and everything. Right. I was sure they were going to be like, we found him. He's unconscious. He's in a coma, but he's off to prison now. And then he wakes up and it's his twin brother. Or something.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Edwin,
like, God damn it, he got away again, kind of thing.
They never find the body. And this is something that I hadn't thought about consciously in past listens.
Yeah.
He could very well still be alive. Spoiler alert, he's not. Like, this is...
this is it.
This is it for him.
Yeah, that's it for him.
Pretty much.
He is in hell. He has to be in hell. For the narrative to make sense to the people writing this story, Regis Blackguard has to go to hell.
Him and the original Whit. Just...
And this is also...
Him and every Whit.
Like, I was talking to you a little bit about this before we recorded, Brian, that, like, you 100%, if you wanted to, after this arc, you could have brought him back again. There's so many ways you could write him back.
It seems like it's set up for that. Even. Like he might as well throw down a smoke bomb or something.
And they do kind of,
but like
twice.
But like you could, be like, oh, he much like Jack, he was also thrown clear of the explosion. Question mark.
Well,
okay.
One
let's
big
get
thing.
to
If you want another Moriarty type character, what if that character shows up in Odyssey and his name is Maury? Anyway, Jack is alive and outside. Here we go.
Yeah. I remember he was blown one way and I was blown another, and then
a lot of blowing going on.
But how did you get there?
I don't know. The grace of God, I suppose.
Okay, yeah.
I still don't understand why
On
Blackguard
Wings of
set off the
Angels.
bomb.
Nor do I, especially considering his propensity for survival and manipulation of the justice system.
Yeah, you'd think that he'd try to beat the rap.
It was a rap he couldn't beat. He had the virus, Jason.
Lay down that beat.
Yes.
AIDS?
What did you say?
Now, just get back in the squad car, Professor.
No, please, I must
He
know.
just got out of the
Please.
car
It's all right,
himself.
Lieutenant.
Did I hear you say that Dr. Blackett had the Roku virus?
That's what he told me, yes.
Oh, no. No. How tragic.
Yes. He said he didn't want to die that way.
But that's just it. He wouldn't have died.
What do you mean?
I tried to tell him. The mineral in the tunnel has uses we hadn't even begun to explore. I could have used the mineral to make an antidote to the virus.
Okay.
Viruses don't have antidotes.
No, Professor. It wouldn't have
That's not what
saved
an
him.
antidote is.
It
That's not what a
would just have
virus
kept him
is.
alive. He rejected what could have saved him a long time ago.
See,
This is such a weird little bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. The name of this clip, by the way, is J.O. motions.
It's blown this way and blown that
This
way.
is not how blowing up a tunnel works. Not that I've blown up a lot of tunnels in my day, but
Allegedly.
You're underground. There's solid stuff above you. You blow up the walls and the beams and the whatevers.
Right.
It falls down.
Right.
There's
On
no
you.
outward anything.
No.
You're not flying out of there. I mean, obviously, okay, God teleported him. Whatever.
Right.
But you're not flying anywhere. The bombs are actually behind both of you. You'd fly into each other at best.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way that would work is if Jack was standing at the entrance of the tunnel.
Right. Which he's not. He's inside it.
Because he's already inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally, God just like came down, picked him up like a sim, and then moved him to the woods and dropped him.
Okay, that
that's
100% works within the reality of this show. It just seems odd that if they were gonna do that, he'd go like, "Oh, it must have been a miracle or something."
Yeah.
Like, you know, so the 8-year-olds can
found
go
in the rubble. Yeah.
The thing that jumped out to me about this actually was the way that they talked about the virus, capital T, capital V.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think about AIDS. Now, I don't know if this is intentional or not, right? I don't know if they're trying. Obviously, they're not trying to be like, hey, kids, you ever hear of HIV? Like that's not the point here.
But yeah, it's 95. 94 was the peak of U.S. deaths from AIDS. Bill Clinton becoming a president that actually addresses the issue very publicly in a number of ways. I think we've had the display of the quilt on the National Mall as well at this point in time. So it's certainly, it's not there. Even though this isn't like a clear comment on AIDS, because they'd get a lot darker with it if that was the case. And they do. Trust me, they do.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
I'd like to read something here. This is a quote by James Dobson from The Complete Marriage and Family Home Reference Guide. You ready for this?
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
All right, question. Is AIDS God's plague sent to punish homosexuals, lesbians, and other promiscuous people?
Lesbians?
Answer. I would think not, because little babies and others who bear no responsibility for their disease are also suffering. But consider this.
Well, it's a big but.
If a person chooses to leap off a 10-story building, he will die when his body crashes to the ground below. It is inevitable. Gravity was not designed by God to punish human folly. He established physical laws that can only be violated at great peril. So it is with his moral laws. They are as real and predictable as the principles that govern the physical universe. Thus, it should have been obvious with the onset of the sexual revolution back in 1968 that today's epidemics would come. That time is here, and what we do with our moral crisis will determine how much we and our children will suffer in the future.
There is no heat in hell hot enough for that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, I had not heard that until just now. So it's just, how can
fun.
you?
It's not fucking fun.
No, but it's not fun. But it's in this episode. It's in the episode right before
This is what
it's
I'm
when
fucking
Jack
saying.
Says, it's I told you so.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking mentality.
It's the same thing. And that's why it just struck me so much again this time around, where it was like, is he responsible? Like, is Blackguard, is this a plague that is being sent from God to kill him? No, not specifically. However, did he sow the seeds of his own demise by behaving immorally? Yes, absolutely.
And potentially literally selling his soul?
Yeah.
Like, was that a metaphor? And again, we'll get back to that in a minute when we talk about Chris, but
so,
like, just keep that in mind.
We clown on this shit so much, right? But then you get back to the ideology that is at the core of this project, and it's so fucking rancid. And what they are doing here is they are dealing to children a lighter version of it that is more palatable, that nevertheless slots you firmly along the pathway to thinking that is AIDS God's punishment? Well, no, not quite, but, right?
Yeah. And it's supposed to be antithetical to the very notion of evangelical Christianity, that it's never too late as long as you make the affirmative decision to become a Christian in your life. That's it. You're saved. But then there's this implication here that, no, some people just don't deserve it.
Right.
Right. It's very Calvinist. It's very like, no, some people are just chosen by the hand of fate not to be accepted into the loving arms of the Lord.
That sort of conflict between, okay, well, God willed this and therefore it is so, comes back to this thing that always seems to emerge in these types of media from this type of ideology, is that what is your agency? What is the agency of what is actually at stake here if God is, ultimately the author
in the
of
driver's
all of it?
seat? Yeah.
And so it is one of those things where it's like, well, he chose to like sell his soul or whatever. And it's like, but the entire thing for the show is that, well, this is all for God's glory, right? This is all working according to his plan. And like, if your puppy dies, well, that was just when God took him, whatever. Whereas something like Regis, this is why these sorts of drama, you saw this with like Left Behind and stuff, where it's like the entire thing is we just pray and hang out because God's going to do something, I guess. This is why it's so frustrating in this when Jack's like, well, we just need to pray. And that's the extent of it. The rest of it's just sort of like, filler, it feels like, because when you come down to your actual theory of how the universe works, God is so involved in all these little things. Any tiny
big
little
micromanager.
This isn't a deist construction where he has just created some clockwork world and left it to work under its own machinery. Yeah,
he is well involved in all of this, but then you come down to, okay, well, then what is agency? I don't know. People have discussed this in history before, but like, and I think that's what it comes down to, is that these things become really unsatisfying because you're like, but this was okay. Like, okay, but then what just happened? One of the things I find interesting about this is he's like, oh no, I could have saved him because of the virus. And I'm like, okay, well, we had a cure for it. So you just didn't ask for it. And I'm like, what is the lesson here?
A virus antidote.
Just always ask for cures?
Yeah,
Like,
it just seems like
know.
such a weird thing. Like it doesn't add much to this to go, well, he could have been okay. Because it's like, but he wasn't.
I feel like that's just in the handbook for how to write like tragedy. It's like, oh, we need one final dramatic irony here. But like, usually you want to establish it before the death happens.
Yeah.
Right. And it's also, oops, I forgot to tell him, or he doesn't try to tell him. We don't
that
hear
takes
him
like
try
30
to tell
seconds.
Him. Yeah, that's so easy. Hey, we can cure you. But also, what struck me this time listening to it is just how fucking arbitrary Christian law is about redemption. That it just because someone dies, it means that God will never forgive them. Like, that's insane to me. God, a being who exists outside of time.
Yeah.
To which the constructs of like human existence mean nothing. Just draws a line in the sand for the brief time that we're on Earth. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
To like argue that there is a loving God who, if you found yourself in hell, didn't then go, oh, fuck, I want to be with God now, that God would not then take you into his embrace. That is a horrifying way to view the universe.
Yeah.
That there is just eternal arbitrary fucking punishment for those people who might, have very good reason while on Earth to hate God. That's, ugh.
Maybe there needs to be some kind of another realm, one where maybe people are able to purge themselves of their
Shut
sin.
the fuck up.
That's true. Like that James Dobson quote about like, is AIDS like God's judgment? It does flow from the logic of this conception of the universe. Because it's like, why is this happening? Why is this so late? This feels laser targeted in some way. So this must be part of God's plan or something, which is why it comes off as disingenuous a bit when that's why it comes off as smug in the way that Jack comes off as smug, of like that kind of like, well, if you just did what we're, what we said, I mean, I can't say what God is doing or whatever, but then I'm going to describe what God is doing essentially.
Yeah.
Because
I, Jack Allen, have unique insight into the mind of God, right? In the same way that, going back to James Dobson, with his theology being like a hardcore fundamentalist Nazarene, believes that he has only gotten more perfect over time.
That he has attained perfection in life on Earth, which is very antithetical to most Christian theology.
So he himself does, in fact, have unique access to the mind of God. It's not that he's fully blameless or fully without sin necessarily, but he just gets God on a deeper level than you do.
AJ, you were kind of bumping into the sort of like theodicy thing of like, well, the question of evil, basically, of like, I think that's what kind of comes down to it. I think that is a really good, Josh, that kind of like conflation of like James Dobson's explanation of AIDS and the explanation for what happens to Regis at the end of this do have this sort of thing of, okay, well, God acts to save Jack from, I mean, I think we can assume that we're supposed to go, oh, it's this kind of a miracle or something.
Yeah, Jack was rescued by Providence.
He wasn't wearing his seatbelt, so he was thrown clear of the wreck. Yes.
But he does, yes. But he does, but he doesn't save like Regis or whatever. So there's this sort of thing that, oh no, God allows the catastrophe to happen to these people that deserve it. But it's rude and mean to say that about AIDS, even for fundamentalists publicly at this point.
I mean, unless you're Bill Buckley, but...
Well, because now we have a lot of missionaries who are going to Africa to work in clinics with patients.
That's a real good point,
like
Brian.
my parents did. I was born in 91. And so my perception of AIDS was not so much about gay people or New York or intravenous drug users. I just knew a bit about it as a disease that was ravaging entire swaths of the African continent. And it was only sort of walking it back through the sort of cultural, perceptual history of AIDS later on that I really learned about so much of it.
I mean, I think that's why Dobson name checks the little babies who just get it, in utero, right?
It's weird that they name check lesbians in the question, who are at like the lowest risk of contracting HIV. But so I just wanted to bring us into the final scene of the episode, and then we'll talk about Chris for a minute, and then we're gonna be able to wrap things up here.
Thank God.
After such a short time.
Yeah, breezed right through these.
So we go back to the news.
And the city council has recommended that the recall of Mayor Tom Riley be postponed.
Fourth newscaster has struck the Odyssey.
We just turned off the recall. Don't worry about it.
Dr. Regis Blackguard. In a related item, Jason Whitaker announced the damage to Whit's End from the tragic explosion that took Dr. Blackguard's life was not as extensive as first believed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Whit's End is fine. We just couldn't even bomb an empty building, right?
Now, turning to the weather, it looks like another typically gorgeous day in a clear sky.
Like another typical
You can barely smell the burning human flesh.
This sucks such fucking dog dick. I hate this.
This is like, and now the radio comes on, and Guy says, "Everything's fine now. All the problems are solved."
But let's get Chris at her Chris-est here, right? She comes right in to really do her thing.
The Bible is filled with story after story of evil men and women who schemed in a variety of ways to get what they wanted. Sometimes it even seemed like they would win out in the end. But ultimately, their wickedness caught up with them. As Proverbs says again and again, the pursuit of evil leads to death. Over the last several episodes, we've seen the twists and turns of a battle between good and evil in Odyssey. The truth is, it's a battle that goes on all the time. Not only in places like Odyssey, but in your town, your school, your home, and even your own heart. Like we saw with our friends in Odyssey, we may sometimes make mistakes in our fight against evil by relying too much on our own cleverness and plans.
That's
Or
actually
like
what
Jack,
solved it, though.
We may realize that we're in a spiritual war that must be fought by faith through prayer to the only one who can be truly victorious, Jesus Christ. If you don't know Jesus, now is a wonderful time to meet him.
Okay.
Don't make
Sure.
the mistake that Dr. Blackguard
listening to
makes,
this?
thinking you'll have time later, or you'll find an escape, or that it's too late. It's never too late to come to the Lord.
Okay.
Don't blow
Never
yourself
too
up
late
in a
to turn
tunnel.
your life over to His
You're so
saving
sexy. Come
grace.
on.
It's never too late. It's never too late. It's not too late now. It's never too late. For Regis, it was too late,
Right.
though.
Yeah.
It was absolute.
Right.
They make it very clear that it was just too. I keep hitting this thing. It was just too late.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It is too
It
late
is
for
just-
some people, but it's not too late for you, dear
No,
listener.
you're good.
Because you're one of the
7-year-old
good
in
ones.
the back of your parents' car.
Maybe
coming home
You're
from
a
school.
regular Baptist.
Well, maybe you haven't, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you, 7-year-old in the back of your parents' fucking Honda Odyssey, Nissan Pathfinder, whatever minivan. Maybe Toyota Sienna. Maybe you, right? Sienna. Anyway, maybe you
Ford Explorer.
Ford. Maybe. Mercury
Dodge Caravan.
Mercury Villager. Maybe you yourself, Dodge Grand Caravan. Maybe you yourself have not yet figured out.
Subaru
You're so
Outback.
close. You're so close. A few more.
You haven't actually said the magic words yet, but that's another piece of it, right? You got to say the magic words.
Yeah,
if
you
you
gotta
don't
have that
do-
one moment. You have to, these obsession with decision
Yes,
points, which
yes,
is why I
yes,
think
yes, yes.
that last thing. It's like you have to have that moment where it's put to you one lap. This is your chance.
Mhm.
You
Gotta
know,
do it.
I am shocked that actually Jack didn't be like, "But you'll go to hell," or something, and like
Yeah.
kind of hit him with that a little bit of, and
Yeah.
then he can go, "Ha ha ha! I'm already in hell." I don't know. My entire life has been hell.
Well, and how Jack is like he's like, I am really not concerned about the global terrorism thing. Everything really is just about the individual. You
Yeah.
can do whatever you want, but you should do it Christianly.
I'm not down
Yeah.
here for your money. I'm down here for your soul.
Hey.
I do love the idea of Regis Blackguard being threatened with hell and him being like, ooh, another place to conquer. And you're just like, yeah, let's fucking go. Like,
You're
really
just
make him, like-
imagining the cutscene from Angels in America.
yeah, it's Roy Cohn in hell.
It'd be funny if, he was just like, better to rule in hell than to serve in Odyssey. Something like that.
Yeah, no, this sucks. This sucks a lot, and I can't wait.
I think it's good.
I can't wait for like the one like random person that's like gone through the no-no door or will go through the no-no door, who's just like this kid wandering in the woods who just discovers like Regis Blackguard's like charred hand,
Yeah.
just
I
like
think there's a part of
lying
the
around there.
jawbone.
Yeah, like, I mean, exactly.
I
Was
just
there
found a
meat in
very
there?
limp wrist.
That's funny.
Oh, it's Jax. It's Jax when he cut it off.
So it's the explosion is big enough to through supernatural means Jack somewhere onto a soft pillow or like a pile of leaves or a big marshmallow or something. But it didn't really damage Whit's End all that much. Like,
don't worry about it.
They gotta mop out the goddamn Bible room. This place gets dirty and stuff. So you're saying like, oh, this huge explosion happened. It's fine.
Scott, listen to me very closely right now, okay? Don't fucking worry about it, okay?
Okay, all right.
But you know what I do? What I do
We've
want
got top men on this.
Here's what I do want to worry about. I want to worry about thanking Scott Benson, our illustrious guest, for spending 4 actual hours of recording time with us today.
Let's fucking go.
New record achieved. World record unlocked. Scott.
I'm going to be so mentally ill for the next 2 days.
So Scott, if folks want to follow you around on social media or whatever, like where should they go? What should they do? How can they support you in these trying times?
That's true. I need prayer warriors.
Okay.
No, for traveling mercies, other sorts of weird phrases. I'm Bombsfall on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram. Also, there you can just go to bombsfall.com, which just lists all of those.
And listen, if you have finished this episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds and want more for some reason, I've got great news for you. If you go to patreon.com/worstofall, you can get access to our entire backlog of episodes, including a great many paywalled Whit's Endless Summer episodes and many, many more. $5 a month gets you access to that, plus Fancy Movie Time with Brian and AJ, where they talk about fancy movies. And then for $10 a month, you also get access to Lads Cast, where we shoot the shit about whatever is on our mind. And this month, we talked a little bit about the DLC for Outer Wilds. We just kept kind of going on about that shit. So check that shit out if you so desire. And either way, thank you for listening to our episode today.
So we started this journey about 2.5 years ago. And the whole point of the experiment was to expose me, AJ, to the horrors of Odyssey.
Yeah.
This thing that everyone here but me grew up with in some capacity. And over all of that time, I have learned the names of John Avery Whitaker and Eugene Meltzner and Connie Kendall. And they have become characters who I know, and I actually have like an encyclopedic knowledge now of a lot of stuff in Odyssey, and I hate you all so much for that. And I know that a lot of you out there also grew up with this show. And what I want to say is, I'm so sorry. First of all, I know we get a lot of comments about people who were actively traumatized by listening to this show or listen to our show to sort of reckon with the trauma that they had listening to this show growing up. And what I want to say to you is there are moments in Darkness Before Dawn that shine. There is that forgiveness moment. There are Earl Bowen's just unspeakably good performance.
Yeah.
And there is the scene with the mint for, for specific people. But what I want you to do is I want you to take those things, those moments that shine, and I want you to make something better. I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Brian's.
All right, check this out. Kia Sedona. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. See you next week.
You okay? Buddy.
Petey?
Petey. Nobody's called me Petey since I was yay high. My name's Sapati. Pete Sapati. And I just gotta say, I'm so glad you're not dead. I did not need that in my wake.
Did it work? Did we do it? Did we make a new world?
Are you on drugs, kid? Because fair warning, the people of Odyssey do not respond well to lowlifes and grifters.
I ain't no grifter. I live here, for Jiminy's sake.
Well, if you ain't a grifted, then why are you completely nude?
Completely nude? Oh, peaches and cream! Where are my dang clothes?
Look, do you have anyone I could call, a friend or a mental health professional?
Petey. You gotta call Petey. Petey Pounderoga.
Petey Pounderoga?
Yeah, he owns Petey Pounderoga's Pound Town. You new around here or something?
I've lived here my whole life, and I have never heard of no Petey Pounderoga. Let me call up a friend of mine, and he's gonna give us a ride to the hospital, okay?
We touched the book together.
Hey,
we should have come out together too. Why didn't we?
Riley's farm. Some naked guy showed up in the bramble.
Must have messed up somehow.
Yes, again.
Stupid Lauren, you had one job. Stupid,
better hurry up. He's not well. Okay, bye. He'll be here in 5. In the meantime, let's wrap you in my coat here.
Much obliged. That's some gizmo you got there. Is that a glass car phone?
Glass car phone? I know I ain't upgraded my smartphone since 2016, but I hardly call it a car phone.
What did you say?
I said I haven't upgraded it since...
No, sorry. What year is it?
Buddy, it's 2024.
That's impossible. It's 1995. Floyd Collins the musical came out just last year.
They made Floyd Collins into a musical?
Oh no. Oh no.
Hey, it's okay. Everything's gonna be just fine. I'm gonna get you some water, all right? Just stay put until Hooten gets here. Naked, another naked guy. It's like how many in a week could I possibly see? It doesn't make any sense.
Wooten? Who the fuck is Wooten? The best is yet to come the day you're mine.